Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Groyper Report. Tonight, we have some groundbreaking news to share with you.
Welcome to the Groyper Report. Introducing the most racist men alive. They are shutting it down as we speak. Welcome to the Groyper Report. Sexist. Racist. Phobic this, phobic that. Terrorizing women across the country. Telling them to wear clothes. Saying all women are mid. Minorities fear them. The president has them on speed dial.
Guess what? Your body, my choice.
Brought to you by Frog Aura Maxing. Brought to you by Frog. Giga Chat Central, yes, thank you for asking. They all must go. Welcome to the one and only. Defending the last white men on Earth. AtlasThugged and Josh Vander Nord. This is the Groyper Report.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Groyper Report. I am your host, AtlasThugged, aka Aaron Shepard, and I am joined by
Joshua Vandernord.
And we are the one network not afraid to say Christ is King. And appreciate everybody for being here. Looks like we need to get the likes up. 36 viewers already on Jump. We need 36 likes as well. If you don't like the video, you're probably gay. Yes, I said that. And we have a lot to get into today. A lot of good stuff. This week was jam-packed. And so to help kind of help allocate some of this, we're going to be moving in a bit of a different direction. We're going to just be moving fast. And we're going to go through probably what we found to be the most particular, the most explosive, the most important bits to cover from Monday through Friday. Everything Nick Fuentes, and we will get into it. And one thing I will say at the beginning, just so you guys are aware, is we are going to be doing member calls at the end of the stream. So once you see the outro at the end, understand we're going to be coming back. You can stay on the same stream. We're going to switch it over to members. So as far as I understand, members should not have to click on any extra buttons. They should be able to stay on stream, and we'll move on to member call-ins. And then I'll post a link for everybody that they can call in. Only one at a time, though. I know we are pretty famous now. We're pretty popular. Everybody wants a piece of Josh. So with that in mind, We'll get into it. Yeah, pause. So to get this started, we kind of decided, we probably thought we'll go with the most explosive to start with. And I think the most explosive thing right now is the fact that Ian Carroll and Nick Fuentes are openly beefing right now. Now, openly beefing might be a poor way to describe the situation, but ultimately Ian Carroll did call out Nick Fuentes on his most recent stream, talking about how he was disappointed, kind of, in my opinion, desperately kind of pleading to Nick, like, where are you? You should be with us. You should be with me and Candace. You should be on our side. Why are you on with Steven Crowder? And so he kind of hand waves to Nick, almost as if Nick is kind of failing everybody, or he is failing his big moment, right? And that, in Ian's words, that this generational run was leading to this moment, and Nick is kind of not showing up for this moment. And so I'll go ahead and throw it over to Josh before we get right into the Ian Carroll clip.
Yeah, so just before we get right into that, no, we usually go kind of day by day, but with so much, there was like, if you follow the Groyper movement, if you follow Nick Fuentes, he had like 5 collabs on top of his normal show hours, with the exception of, like, I think he canceled one time. This was a jam-packed week. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. And so we're kind of going by like topic, like what topic is the most topical. And obviously in these circles, I think the Ian Carroll thing is a good place to start. So I guess I'll say, I think Atlas, it's played up a little bit. I don't think Nick and Ian Carroll are necessarily beefing. And as you know, Nick has the temperament of, if anyone calls him out, he pushes back hard. But I don't think it's clear now that Tucker and Candace are having a falling out with Nick. Like that's not something that can be mended.
Right.
With Ian Carroll, this is just kind of like, get off my ass, bro.
Right.
You know.
Right. Well, The thing I guess I would add, because there was a follow-up post from Ian Carroll, is I think from Nick's side, and even said this in his super chat, but he said, it's not personal, but that was kind of his overall kind of like, putting it all out there. Like, this is kind of like my quick take on Ian. Like, I think it's retarded. Ian Carroll, I think, is actually taking it a bit more personal than even than Nick was letting on to, or even what Nick appeared to be taking it as. But without further ado, we'll get into the first clip here. This is going to be Ian Carroll. This was from Friday. Yes, from Friday. One of the most recent things that's happened this week, but Ian Carroll calling out Nick. Here it is.
You're the Israel guy. You're our guy, bro. And we are now well into the moment with Israel, with TPUSA, with Candace, with the Trump government, with everything. And what's going on, man? Where are you at, Nick? Like, yeah, Nick is still doing his thing. He's still running his show. He's still being critical of Israel. But he's also doing the podcast circuit, basically running everything he can against Candace and against actual, like, factual information. I could understand if Nick was skeptical of Candace's sources, but Nick is straight up, like, not here, not there for the conversation about Israel in the way I think a lot of us expect, and the way I think a lot of us were ready for. It's like arriving on the battlefield and your general is off hanging out with Steven Crowder. Like, you're supposed to be our guy, bro. This is your moment. This is your moment on so many levels, dude. Where are you? You're on Steven Crowder disavowing the people that are actually out here taking on Israel, taking on the deep state, taking on the whole thing. And you're over here with Crowder. With Crowder. And we're going to get into all of these different elements throughout this show. And like, the world is not about picking sides. But sometimes when you look at the sides of an issue, it tells you a lot about the issue. And it tells you a lot about how, if you are thinking about a thing in a way that makes you arrive at the same conclusion as Tim Pool and as Steven Crowder and as Rabbi Shmuley and as all these other people. And to be clear, I'm not saying that Nick is the same as Rabbi Shmuley. And I'm just saying, how are you winding up at the conclusion of these guys? With all that you know, with all that you've called out, with your deep understanding of how Jewish donors control things, with your deep understanding of the history of Mossad and of the CIA, you don't even think there's a possibility? Not even a chance. And this is supposed to be your moment. This is supposed to be your rise. You're on the generational run, bro. And you have generationally run right to Steven Crowder's show to hang out with the Fed slop narrative.
So that's the general gist of the clip there from Ian. And what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to attack Ian. I personally find Ian to have the most credibility of any of that crowd, whether it's Candace, whether it's Tucker, etc. And I do think there is an element here of the fact that Candace basically like paid for Ian Carroll to set up shop, and now he's successful because of her. And I do think that is an element that does need to be brought up, which is like, you can't expect Ian to immediately slap away the hand of Candace, even if he thought so. But I do think Ian genuinely believes this. I think my biggest issue does go back to the fact of how many times Nick has said that he's open. He's open as if the evidence presents itself. I think a lot of people are irritated because they feel like he's not engaging with it. But I feel like he's addressed all pieces of evidence that have come his way. Even Bradley Martin brought up George Zinn in their recent collab earlier this week, and Nick even had an answer for that as well. I guess my broader take from this too, as I think about it, was like more so in Nick, if I zoom out, there would have been no way Nick could have been more popular or allowed on YouTube without anybody saying anything. Regardless if there was a Kirk assassination, regardless of what moment in time it was, if Nick all of a sudden was allowed back on platforms, it wouldn't matter what anybody would say. There would still be a belief of people that he's a controlled asset. So, I mean, there's with that belief going forward, it's like, what are you going to do about it? There was always going to be people who would say he's a controlled asset, no matter if he made it past his censorship or not.
Yeah, you know what, Atlas? It's kind of funny. We didn't talk about this clip really in detail, game planning the show, like our take on it specifically. But you took the words right out of my mouth. I think that Candace, you know, she put Ian Carroll on. He's got to be loyal to her. He's got to save face. But at the same time, I think this does come from a place of like genuineness, like almost like I don't know if pleading is the right word, but from a place of like, dude, he means what he says. He's like, dude, come on, come on over.
Right.
This is where you belong, because he believes it. Now, we could speculate and whatnot, but I'm willing to give Ian Carroll the benefit of that doubt. And so, yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, and here's super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Zeb. He said, Zeb writes, wait, Candace seed funded Ian, and appreciate the super chat, brother. And yeah, so I don't know the specific details so far, but he's been pretty open about it occasionally. I think specifically it was about a year ago. He had talked about how he was Ubering while he was doing all of his TikTok stuff because it was largely demonetized everywhere. This is where the cancel Cloco store came in. He needed a way to fund himself with the shop to print or whatever that's called with the t-shirts. And when Candace was, I believe, early in her maternity leave is when she let Ian take over. And I think that was the start of Ian kind of gaining access to a lot more money than he had previously. And even if it wasn't that, even if it wasn't like a here's money, or even if it's just paying him small amounts, it still was by proxy that Candace was literally propagating Ian by giving her his entire show for 2 weeks. Ian Carroll basically ran Candace the show, and it gave him a lot of publicity. And so that's what I mean to say, like, even if Ian maybe leaned towards where Nick was at, there's probably going to be an element where he's going to not attack Candace, right? He might just hands off because he doesn't want to attack somebody who basically put him on. But maybe not too many people know about that.
I almost wonder if Ian Carroll's perspective on this is kind of like what's that guy's name? John Doyle. Nick kind of clowns on John Doyle, where it's like John Doyle basically betrayed everything he believes to get a job at the Blaze. Right. And obviously, I don't think Nick Carroll thinks the same thing of Nick, but he might have the perception that, Nick is somewhat selling out to get on with Crowder. But in fact, it's the opposite. Nick is doing Crowder a favor by going on Crowder's show. Nick is doing Tommy G a favor by going on his show now. It's not the same. Right.
Yeah, and we might get to the Tommy G collab, but if you haven't seen it, don't waste your time. I mean, I'll tell you that right now.
How do we have better audio setups than the shows Nick is going on?
I'm glad you noticed that.
You're always welcome.
Right. I had listened to, I think I listened to the Crowder one first. Then I listened to Bradley Martin. Then Tommy G was the last one. And it was like huge fall off. It was like, were you recording this with like your phone from the other room? like what was this audio? That was miserable stuff.
Yeah, not even a lavalier mic or anything like that. Come on, dude.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it at all. And you could tell because one time Nick turns to like cross his leg or something, and the audio gets so much louder. And I was like, dude, that's brutal. 3 million subs and can't afford an audio setup. But this is Nick. We're going to move to Nick responding to Ian Carroll. So this is kind of Nick's overall response, and it's to Ian Carroll largely, but it's also kind of roping in Candace, and I think just the general discontent from the overall political environment around it. So here's the second clip. And after we get past Nick's response, what we will move to is Ian responded to Nick, and Nick responded to Ian. So there's a bit of a text exchange that's closer to today. It's about only a few hours old, about 12 hours old now. But here is Nick responding to Ian Carroll's call out.
And I saw Ian Carroll came out today on a live stream pleading with me to join in on the conspiracy. Ian Carroll, the conspiracy theorist, he's making videos about the conspiracy behind Red Lobster, the conspiracy behind Applebee's, the conspiracy behind Burger King. He does a live stream tonight and says, Where are you, Nick? We're all aligned on this against the Jews, and you are agreeing with Crowder and Tim Pool and everybody else. We need you. Why are you with them? And I would say with Ian Carroll, where's the evidence? What even is that? Everything other than evidence. They're going to say, well, Israel kills everybody else. Okay, people die all the time, actually. People die all the time, and there are a lot of school shootings and assassinations. This stuff happens with regularity. Was Israel behind Luigi Mangione? Why or why not? Was Israel behind the school shooting in Colorado that happened on the same day? Why or why not? Was Israel behind the shooting of Trump? Why or why not? I don't know if any of those people blamed Israel for the shooting of Trump. Was Israel behind the Las Vegas shooting? Why or why not? Because the heuristic seems to be Israel is behind literally everything. Literally everything. Not most things, not things we can demonstrate with evidence. No, they're behind literally everything. And if they're behind literally everything in the past, then it's safe to assume they're behind literally everything in the future. And that is ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. Why? Charlie Kirk was Israel's top guy. I don't know how much more clear you can make it. And here's a perfect example. Hey, Ian Carroll, why did you on September 7th of this year tweet at Charlie Kirk, you're working for the Jews that killed Jesus? On September 7th, 2025, you tweeted that Charlie Kirk is working for the Jews that killed Jesus. On September 11th, you were absolutely certain that Israel killed him because he was this close to telling the truth, and he died for it. So what changed in those 4 days exactly? What irrefutable proof did you get in those 4 days? On September 7th, you said Charlie Kirk is working for the Jews that killed Jesus. On September 11th, the day after he was killed, you were certain, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Israel killed him to silence him. How does that even happen? Before we had a suspect, before we knew any of the facts, any of it, you knew for sure they did it. So do you have ESP? Are you omniscient? Do you have telepathy? I don't think so. This is a grift. This is a grift. It is intellectually lazy. It is dishonest. You are making assumptions that you cannot rationally make. And if you want to destroy your credibility, that's fine. If you want to destroy your credibility by blaming Israel for killing the #1 Israel defender in America, that is your business. But don't try to rope me into it and guilt me or whatever it is you're trying to do, saying we're all on this side and you're over there. I've been over here, bro. Where were you? I've been over here. I was at Charlottesville, lest I remind you. Where were you in 2017? Were you at Burning Man? Sorry, were you in some commune in Portland? I was at Charlottesville in 2017. He goes, we're all over here fighting the good fight. You and who? You and Candace Owens, who was working at Daily Wire last year? You and Candace Owens, who was working at Daily Wire. You and Tucker Carlson, who was working at Fox News. In 2017, 10 years ago, I was at Charlottesville. In 2019, I led the Groyper war against Charlie Kirk, calling him an Israel shill. It is 2025. Nothing has changed. For 13 years, from the time Charlie founded Turning Point until today, that organization was owned by Israel and served Israel, and everyone knows that.
Josh, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so very explosive comments by Nick about this. As we said before, and as everyone knows, Nick gets hot under the collar. He gets heated over these things. But we had talked about this before the show where, you know, when catching up on last night's America First show, he basically said he was playing this up a little bit. You know, he was playing it up. And really what I think is the more poignant thing about this is he used it as an opportunity. It wasn't fully shown in this clip, but like it had continued. He talks about how Candace Owens, like he said, Candace Owens worked for Daily Wire a year ago, and her husband's shady connections to all of these Israeli groups, how her husband's father basically runs the like Jewish Christian organization in Europe, like one of the biggest ones in Europe. And it's like, oh, I'm the suspicious one because I'm not blaming the Jews for killing Charlie Kirk, but your honeypot, your benefactor, Candace Owens, where's all the scrutiny on this? Which I think was the main takeaway from that clip.
Yeah, I guess the thing is like I'm just sitting here going like every side looks back, and I think anyone saying anything beyond like they don't know, it's just like, okay, I can't trust you, and like just think that. And here's the thing, this probably piss people off. I'm really struggling to find anything Candace has put forward to be trustworthy. And it's not to say that I don't trust the work of Ian Carroll. If anything, I wait for Ian Carroll to see what he said about it before I take the word of Candace Owens. There's overwhelmingly something off with what's going on. But the whole idea that like Nick is like shilling for TPUSA when he immediately was one of the first people who was saying it's weird how Erica Kirk is behaving, how literally less than 24 hours ago, he highlighted how weird it was what Erica Kirk was talking about JD Vance and for 2028. And it's like all these people just want, I don't know. I'm quickly losing an idea of how to handle that because people think they know what they're talking about when they have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm finding that more and more to be a thing. And specifically, like the part of the reason why I'm getting even more anti-Candace is when I was doing show prep for all this week, I ran into multiple videos of somebody on TikTok saying Candace Owens said this. And I'll watch 90 seconds. I'm waiting for the whole thing to get through and no evidence. It's just a guy looking into a camera saying a thing that happened. It's the same thing with like these divorce proceedings supposedly that were going to happen. Now you have Milo Yiannopoulos saying that Charlie Kirk was actually gay. It's left the ground of like reality. And also I'm still sitting here going like the way that Candace responded in the immediate, that she wouldn't immediately show up to the event to challenge TPUSA. I immediately was like, okay, it's all fake. Because if your cost to searching for truth isn't your life, you will be bought. And if Candace Owens for the last 3.5 fucking months has been pushing this to the highest degree that she believes that a foreign nation that has infiltrated the United States of America killed one of the most beloved citizens of the United States of America on U.S. soil, and there's active American organizations facilitating the protection of such things. What the hell I don't care if it was your son you were giving birth that day. You need to show up. That is your narrative. This is everything that you have built upon. And all credibility instantly nuked because she goes, well, I can't show up in person. I need to do this live stream. Oh, my husband said I can't show up because it's his birthday. I'm done. I'm out. I'm fully with Nick now. That was such a show of patheticness that I have no other option. I'm fully with Nick now. I actually had doubts before. I was going back and forth. But the way that Candace Owens has behaved, running this like a profit model, engineering it out, slow IV dripping, turn out at 8:30 p.m. and we can really find out who killed Charlie Kirk. I'm done, dude. It's a big joke.
No, 100%. It is bullshit. I hate that, like, there was an argument to be had early on that it's like, okay, for argument's sake, if the things she are saying is true, maybe for her safety, she has to do a slow rollout. Or maybe, she's playing the game, she has to, okay, she wants to get to the bottom of things, but she's got to make a little money. Earlier on, I could kind of understand it. It's been 3 months. Tune in to know the real culprits behind the murder of Charlie Kirk. And now that TPUSA, who she is accusing Charlie Kirk's wife of murdering him. She is accusing his employees of murdering him. And now the hysteria has gotten so big that they begrudgingly have to respond, and they're like, regardless of what actually happened, I think as human beings, we could understand that they would rightfully be irritated.
Yeah.
Even if they did kill him, they'd be so their irritation with her is not evidence of like they're going to murder her or
Right.
I'm not saying there's not some sus stuff about Erica, but like her having to debate 3 months after her husband was killed whether or not she was involved, like against her will. I can understand certain things. I get it, but like, what are we doing here? Like, just do it. Just do it,
Right.
Candace.
Right. And the one thing I would give, I said this earlier on Offensively Accurate, would be, perhaps there is something that I'm not thinking about. Because I said this just like this earlier. Like, I'm not a Jewish lawyer, so I don't know all of the ways you can screw somebody with like some kind of like, overlapping law or something, that perhaps maybe there is some kind of real risk. If Candace would show up in person, she'd get like a harassment or a stalking or some kind of like thing that I don't even understand. So I would give that caveat, but ultimately it's like, no. It's like, and especially too, the whole thing is like, he was your best friend, right? And it's like, if my best friend, that happened to him and I truly believed it was like some kind of conspiracy, but dude, my wife would probably leave me because of how focused and zoomed in I would be to ensure that I could get to the bottom of it. But that's a whole other different element too. But not to spend too much time on that. Obviously, this is blowing up, and it's going to continue being this way. I want to go to actually Ian responding to throw it back into Ian's court. Let me get this pulled up for you guys, because this is what Ian Carroll said in response. He quote tweeted Nick, or no, he quote tweeted, I believe, the clip actually. I'm gonna put it on screen for you guys to see. So Ian Carroll quotes this here, and he says, so this is from Kaiser Rev. But Ian Carroll writes, he says, I'd expect better than to strawman the argument, Nick. Start with a bullet. Start with a 30-06 that allegedly hit him from the front in his C2, which is behind his face, then turned at a right angle and destroyed all his neck vertebrae down to the C6, but didn't leave an exit wound. And so this is your cervical vertebrae. It's at the top of your head. Then you can move on to the rifle, then the footage, then the patsy, then the security team, then the planes, then the covering up of the crime scene, then the weird shit at TPUSA. Hell, you could even get to Charlie himself saying that he was afraid they were going to kill him. And by the way, the Red Lobster corporate collusion was very real, very well documented in a wild dig. You should look it up someday. I cited all my sources. And I will say this too, Ian does go above and beyond to do this. And I do think he probably would be somebody who would probably get very pissed off if you challenge him on his credibility. But Nick did respond, and I'll cover this real quick before we go back to the main one. Nick responded what we just saw in the clip there, which was on September 7th. He's quoting this exact tweet. You said Kirk dedicated his life to serving the Christ-killing Jews. By September 11th, you were confident he was martyred for his fight against Israel. You suck up to dum-dum because you know where your bread is buttered and low IQ conspiracy is your grift. And so it looks like nobody had really responded here. But I did like what Clint Russell had said out here too. It seems like the people who haven't looked into this much are the only ones that find that angle implausible. Hopefully we can hash it out with Dave. Him and Nick are both skeptical. You and I could take the affirmative side. And so bring that all to your attention to also add this as well. I would heavily, Nick's already on like this big tour. I think it would behoove Ian to reach out to Nick to try to bring him on a show, or somebody try to moderate that or mediate that. I think that is something that I would like to see personally, and I would find it to probably be more substantive than what we're probably about to get with the Candace Owens and the TPUSA thing. But I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the points you made about Ian Carroll. Like, I like Ian Carroll. I think he's a good guy. And Nick said as much on his show last night. He likes Ian Carroll. He doesn't have any like real beef with him. But at the end of the day, it's like he said, he knows where his bread is buttered. I like the video. So
I appreciate you. Thank you, Cooper. I appreciate that. We're winning if we're having fun.
Cooper. It's blurry on mine. I had trouble reading it. No, you're good. I like that. That was funny. What was I saying? Yeah, Ian Carroll. I like. There is some truth to what he's saying, though. Is Ian Carroll is the conspiracy theory guy. So when the take is there's no conspiracy here, you're basically like taking food out of his mouth. So I don't think we're going to get anything out of TPUSA. Full disclosure.
Right.
Nothing ever happens. I hate to be that guy, but it is the case. Nothing ever happens. Even if they
No, don't do that to me.
even if they did kill him.
Oh.
Yeah. I know.
Nothing ever
It,
happens.
so this is something I believe Zeb said on Outside the Overton. He said the only people that did not benefit from Charlie Kirk's death were his children. And look, I mean, we benefited from it. You know what I mean? It sucks to say, but that just is the case.
Right.
And it's one of those things where I like Candace, especially like I've thought this for a while, but like the whole thing with the TPUSA just confirmed it. She is milking this. And Ian Carroll, he's not going to go again. And Nick, you know, he's basically milking the whole beef. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say milking as bad as Candace is, but you know, like all of this stuff, it's just what he's been talking about a lot. And Ian Carroll is probably under the gun where all these Steven Crowder, Tucker, they're under pressure to have Nick on their show. Ian Carroll is under pressure to take a side. And so this was probably his like attempt to say, I'm with Candace, but I like Nick.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I guess the thing here is like, I mean, what can't be like not mentioned is the fact that it's like TPUSA look shady. They look shady as all hell. And the way they've handled themselves make them not look good either. And that's kind of like maybe the broader point that I've probably mentioned a couple of times is like nobody looks good. Everybody's losing. Well, Nick keeps winning, but everybody's losing. It's like it's hard to even engage with it and come out with any kind of meaningful W. I mean, even in the beginning, I mean, like even touching it in any way beyond just saying like, oh, my heart goes out to, you know, Erica Kirk was like, wow, you're a ghoul. Is his body even cold yet? Like, it's like, dude, like chill. Like for one, I don't give a shit. And two, like, yeah, like there's some clear and obvious things we should look at here. And it kind of goes back to this whole, like this general nature of like how effeminate the society is. Like everyone's kind of under like the house hand rules, like everyone stay in line, single file line. It's like, dude, come on. Like sometimes like things actually call for this. And one thing I'll add too, before we move on to something different would be, has it like not occurred to anybody that Candace Owens could entirely be a destabilization agent? That Candace Owens is who they slotted and selected to propagate as part of Project Esther? I mean, like I'll bring this up time and time again. And like, I would encourage people to read it because it is on the Heritage Foundation's website. You can find it. If you just have an internet access, you can go and look this up. Necessary conditions, desired effects. They want to make these groups combat each other. And is Candace Owens one of these groups? Is she who they want to make it so that groups don't trust each other? Possibly. And that's whatever. I mean, regardless of what you say, it's happened already, right? I find it hard to trust Candace Owens now. And you look at the entire matrix, I think it's across the board. Tucker Carlson, other people have been roped into this. Crowder, Tim Pool, Milo Yiannopoulos. It's like the whole kind of right wing now. It's like, they got their desired effect. And so sometimes you got to like zoom out and go, same way we can't understand God's plan. There's sometimes you just got to zoom out and go, what am I missing? Do I seriously not know all of the cards on the table? Because there's a bigger than 1% chance that that's the reality.
Well, and you know, it's you mentioned that, and that's kind of the thing is I almost wonder with Project Esther and everything that I almost feel like that has to be the play right now. Because think about it. When's the last time Israel was in the news big recently? Like since before Thanksgiving, it's been a couple weeks since we've had any, you know, like for the past 3 years, it's been like blowing up hospitals, blowing up kids, killing hostages every day. And like, yeah, we're getting some stuff about how like they're not happy with the bodies they're getting from the hostage release from Hamas, but it's very tame stuff. And it's almost like, I wonder if the Israeli news cycle has kind of stepped back, and what is left over is all of this beef, all of this infighting amongst the so-called red pill community, all the conspiracy theory community. And maybe that's their play, is they're hoping all the beef, all the people that rail against the Jews hate each other, and that's what people are seeing right now. I think there's something to that.
Well,
time will tell.
Here's the thing. I'm going to ask the audience, and we'll give it a second and see if anybody knows this. Which country outside of the United States has the largest Jewish diaspora? I'll give it a second. There's also a delay too, so I'll wait to see if the chat comes in. No, Hook, not Israel. No, we got a couple of guesses. Russia, Brazil. No, it's France. And France has been largely and routinely the second largest place of the diaspora. And so with that, what other country has Candace Owens been nonstop spouting out about? Which other faction and intelligence agency has been recently roped into this? And I'm also kind of looking at this. Is this a way to then begin shift angles here and go, wait a minute, there's another intelligence agency over here, and it's the French Legion. And I'm almost curious if Candace Owens is, through what she's doing, is trying to propagate and give credence to there's also another, very scary French lobby that will kill people for their relations there. And I would encourage people to look up the relationship between France and Israel from basically the foundation of the nation all the way until now too. But I say that just because that's kind of a helpful tidbit of information when you look at it and you go, oh, interesting. So Candace has been heavily focused around here. It's just to say, I think a lot of people are acting with full conviction that they know something when you would be hard pressed to say that you know anything about what's going on in the situation. And that's where I've been. I've been there pretty much the entire time, which is like, there's too much going on. It's too chaotic. And I feel like we're still in the dark. And so much so, I will add this on top of it. I think I said this before. I don't think they're even going to get Tyler Robinson convicted. I think Tyler Robinson at this point will walk. And I think I think the prosecution or the defense is going to run with the mistrial. They're going to say that there's no way, given the nature of what's been covered with Tyler Robinson, that they can guarantee or give him a fair trial because no jury pool will not be untainted. Like, how are you going to find 12 people in this country that haven't heard or been given information, whether it's from Candace, Tucker, Nick, otherwise, about what's going on? So at this point, it's like no one's going to win. He's going to walk free. It'll be a shit mistrial and move on.
I'm going to push back on that a little bit. And I know it's kind of off topic for the Groyper report, but I feel like a head has to roll. I feel like they're going to make it stick. You know what I mean?
Well, the reason why I say that is because they've now pressed a gag order to how many people? It's like 5,000 people now, all under this gag order. They're doing that because they have to. I mean, like, they have to do these things because that's part of the reason. They need the witnesses. They need the communications to stop from all of the key witnesses and everything, because it lends itself to the defense when they go and make their argument there. This is a similar argument that was made with Trump and being tried in like DC and New York. But I thought more so specifically, their argument was the best against the J6ers because they were tried in DC. And if you know the layout of DC, the demographics and the way the politics fall there, it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to say they got a fair trial in DC. I mean, you're trying a guy from Wyoming in DC. It's like he's surrounded by 12 Democrats. Of course, he's going to jail.
Right.
So, I say that to say there's a lot of blind spots for people, and I think they're not taking them into account. But I'll turn to Josh. Your top clip you wanted to go to.
Yes. I really enjoyed. So we talked a little bit about this. You actually brought it up. I kind of want to go to the Steven Crowder gun control one.
That was on Thursday. Yes.
Yes.
Here we go. Yes. Because it was I don't think people were ready for Nick's take on the Second Amendment. But yeah, they discussed it, and I kind of actually do agree with Nick on the Second Amendment take here. So here it is.
What I see communicated is, in your ideal utopia, to use the word, would involve a much stronger state with much more executive power. And I agree on the executive authority, but the end game, a much stronger state and much softer civilian arms, softer Second Amendment rights. And it sounds a lot to me like the left saying, well, it was for muskets and we can just revise it. Explain if that's a mischaracterization. How do we know when we decide, and how do we decide we probably don't want people running around with guns anymore?
Well, I'm not in favor of gun control. And in America. I just don't even think that's practical. It's what, 400, 500 million guns or something. I don't think it's possible to control guns here. It's kind of gotten away. But I will just say it really comes from a feeling. I don't really have a fleshed out, like, hot take on it. But I do think about a modern city like New York or DC or LA and think, where do we draw the line? I know in Texas, for example, you have open carry. And I've done it. I was down in Texas with John Doyle actually years ago before we became enemies. And we were walking around with guns in our back pocket in the gas station. And I'm thinking, I actually don't know that I want to live in a city where people are literally walking around with guns hanging out of their pants. I guess I already do live in one. I live in Chicago. They don't do it legally.
Well, I was going to say that might just be a Chicago thing because everyone in this studio is strapped right now, and I love it. Like you're almost making me erect in your description.
I caught myself. I'm like, oh wait, that sounds like the South Side. It sounds like Inglewood actually. But so I guess I'm in favor of like concealed carry. We should be able to own guns. I just, maybe it's a cultural thing because I did grow up in the Midwest. And my parents actually trained people in how to use firearms, but we're not like a gun nut family. Forgive me if that's a pejorative statement, but we're not enthusiasts. And so there's something to me about it that I just feel like at a certain point it becomes less safe, more than more safe. So, but like I said, I don't really have a fleshed out take. I'm ideologically in favor of the Second Amendment. I do support it. I don't have any prescriptive gun control measures. I just think there's a limit to it, and I get a little uncomfortable by some of it sometimes.
Okay, well, I think that's a fair answer if it's just sort of a feeling thing. I think that in combination, hopefully you can understand where it's prescriptive as far as a stronger state or theocracy or I feel like I know I've heard you use the word dictatorship. It could be, again, tongue-in-cheek with softer Second Amendment rights. That's a huge concern to me. But I think that's a fair answer if you don't actually have a prescription for it. All right, I would ask that you not create any kind of a coalition with someone who would take any guns away because I have them hanging out of my pockets all the time. As a matter of fact, I've created new pockets for my guns.
I keep forgetting you're Canadian. That seems like a big hang, maybe because you come from a country without it.
So, you lead, Josh.
Yeah, this was I really enjoyed this take because it was kind of a break from what we've been getting the last few months. We've been getting the generational run where he's going on all these podcasts and they're asking him about how he was canceled at 18. This was one of the takes where, for a while it was like, okay, he's getting interviews and it's kind of nice to see him rehash these things. I do want Nick to kind of get back to the politics. And this is one of his takes where it is thought-provoking, and it kind of makes me, it calls into question a lot of the things conservatives traditionally believe. And that's one of the things I grappled with was like, this sort of is funny seeing Steven Crowder. I never watched Steven Crowder until this interview and seeing him having this, like, it's like, did you just come from the Obama years, dude, talking about how they're going to take our guns. They're going to take our guns. And it's like, that's so not the problem right now. But it was it's thought provoking where it's like, I would like a society where we don't need to have guns hanging out of our pockets. So I really enjoyed that. And I believe we're going to debate that a little bit on Founders tomorrow.
Yeah, actually, because I disagree with that element that Nick had said and that element that you had said, because I truly don't think you can even have a high trust society without the threat of violence. I think those are kind of hand in hand together. What I would say, though, the part that's like not in this clip that I thought was the better point that Nick had made, which was the kind of the tried and true, right, about similar to Constitution. If the Constitution is what brought you here, what good was the Constitution? Same way the Second Amendment, right? Second Amendment's primary purpose is to protect against tyranny. Well, we're under tyranny right now, so what good was the Second Amendment? And you can kind of come up with these arguments, right, of like, basically saying of what effect was that, right? We kind of moved into a new era with like digital, with censorship. There's new ways they can come and get you. And he even says that too. He's like, they did come and get me. He was like, I was debanked. He was like, I was on a no-fly list. He's like, they did get me, right? They essentially got me in terms of character assassination and everything else on top of it, financial assassination. But I would go one step further. I would say that the Second Amendment needs to be made more robust with further protections, and it needs to be conjoined with the Fourth Amendment as well, with the privacy protections. Especially as we know we're about to enter the era of like Palantir and the data collection as well too. But I agree first and foremost with that point, which is the Second Amendment's almost become a non-factor now. You could say the Second Amendment says here in the Constitution, I have the right to protect myself against tyranny. So when the cops came and did this and I defended myself, that'll be your argument. But the reality is no one's going to honor it. The court's not going to honor it. The jury of your peers isn't going to honor it. So as much as you may believe it and as much as that may be true, pragmatically, it means nothing because the rest of the populace isn't going to honor it. So it's kind of like the whole idea here, which is like, it either needs to be made more robust or, because at this point it's already been continually raped to death. And you have what you had said was gun control. They even went away from that. The left went away from actually trying to get all guns to like magazine capacity, to you can't have these certain stocks. Like they gave it up because they knew they weren't going to get the guns away. So they went to how they can kind of restrict how the guns are used and which ones you can purchase and own anyways. And so I do think my broadest takeaway from that clip was actually, I do think that there needs to be a revisit of what defense Americans have, not just in terms of firearm, but what other forms of defense does an American have a right to defend themselves against tyranny that also would fall outside of a firearm? That's what I think needs to be looked at and be done more robustly with privacy protections, Fourth Amendment as well too.
Oh, absolutely. And it speaks to that broader range of things, but also at the same time, it's something you said at the beginning was the Second Amendment is almost, I don't know if redundant's the right word, but it almost doesn't matter. Like I'm reminded of a story fairly recently where there was a breaking and entering. 2 black criminals broke into an old man's house, and it's one of those things where by every legal precedent, there was no room for any shenanigans. They were breaking into his house. He shot them as they ran at him to try and kill him, and they died from their wounds.
Yeah.
The family is calling for this man to get the death penalty. And, the jury's out, but it's one of those things where it's like, honestly, if you're fighting for your right to have a gun so that you could prolong your own execution, you may as well either A, not have the gun and just let them kill you, or B, kill them when they come into your house and then kill yourself.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of falls into maybe one of the only good things Tim Pool's ever said, which was it's retarded to play Monopoly when you're playing against a cheater, right? It's like, what's the point of you worrying about the rules when every time you play a chip down, your opponent flips the board and says, I win? We have a story today of a man who was stabbed, and they're letting the guy off the hook because the guy after being stabbed said the N-word. It doesn't matter what is on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter what you think the rules are. What matters is the person who's going to be banging the gavel when you're in the courtroom. It's like, it comes back to these very, very, these ideas that people hold as if it would be honored in any kind of way. It's like, dude, they fucking hate you. Like, you have to get that through your head. They hate you. There's no honor here anymore. There actually are no rules. The rules that we have are the ones that are self-imposed to us because we're Christians and we believe that is the way, the truth, and the life. And so we do our best to honor the walk of God. So there's an element of we already are under a bit of, what's the word? We're not going to move to those levels, but it doesn't mean we have to give up either. And I think the overall is just this element of concerning ourselves with what ought to be and not what is. And I think that needs to be more of the approach, more of a pragmatic approach, more of understanding what actually is on the table.
Yeah, and it's like I wish people on our side would stop thinking about honestly, quit giving black people the benefit of the doubt. They're more aligned. The average black person is more like Rampage Jackson than they are like Ben Carson. You saw that clip? You saw Rampage Jackson, whose son is a murderer. His son basically got away with murder, or paralyzing a guy for life because he disrespected him in the WWE, like they had a made up fight, and then he killed the guy, and then Rampage Jackson gets not even caught on a hot mic. He was just straight up like, white people are the most evilest motherfuckers on the planet. We got to kill them all. They evil and slay my people. This is what they think, and it's like, and legitimately, it's, you don't even get an inward pass if there's a knife in your throat, if there's a knife sticking out of your side.
Right.
We need to move past this.
Exactly.
We need to get into the, it sucks to say, and I wish it weren't this way, but you have to be realistic about the situation. It is an us versus them world.
Right.
And they see it that way. We need to start to see it that way.
Well, and just run this scenario, like just run this scenario, okay? Sheriffs come out to your house, 10 of them. They say they're there because you posted something about Israel. Okay? You're recording the whole thing. You defend yourself. You're going to jail for the rest of your life. That's just what it's not that I agree with it. It's not that I think that's what should be happening. It's not think it's what it ought to be happening. That is what will happen. And people have to engage with reality. I can't stand when people engage with a delusion. It's like, you might as well go be trans. It's the same thing with the boomers and race, and like what we were talking about earlier in the green room. Like this intellectual dishonesty with what the reality is. Same way it goes with race realism. I'm not the same as a black person, and a black person is not the same as me. Doesn't mean we have less value to God. It doesn't mean I hate them. But to sit here and say we're equal 100% all the way through, from our ears to the tip of our toes, you are a liar, and you are intellectually dishonest. And this leads to negative consequences down the road. We kind of ranted a little bit too much there. Let's go ahead and move on. I have one of these other ones here. Let me pull this out. This happened earlier in the week, actually. And I think this is actually spot on for what we had just kind of talked about. This is from Monday. And Nick kind of rehashes how people need to be engaging with their vote. Almost, and I kind of agree here, the idea that people don't know how to wield their vote or use it for the leverage of which that it is. So again, this is from Monday and about how politicians need to earn our vote. We go pull it up here. And here we go.
One you would vote for if you had to in 2028, regardless of party affiliation. Is it going to be a lesser of two evils like 2024 was?
Oh my gosh.
But Will sent-
You're a fucking goy.
But Will sent $20.
Here's the thing. Here's why that question bothers me. It's 2025, so we don't even know who's running. We know one person that's running. That person's name is JD Vance, and that's it. But nobody has started campaigning. And you fucking goyim, you're just like tripping over yourself to suck cock. I'm here telling, and I know that's really vulgar. I apologize. But that's what, when you give someone your vote, that's kind of what you're doing. If I tell you, like, stop, please stop voting for people that are raping you. You're getting raped. You voted for this. You voted to get raped again. You keep voting for your rapist. You vote, you get raped. You vote for your rapist, you get raped again. You vote for your rapist, you get raped again. And I come around and I say, hey, me again, you're getting raped again. Don't vote again. And people go, oh, who should I vote for? Who should I vote for? Why? Hey, time out. Let's just wait. Let's just wait for the game to come to us. Okay? Instead of tripping over ourselves, who am I going to vote for? Who am I going to give my vote to? Why don't we turn the tables and say, let's sit back, aloof, and say, who is going to earn my vote? I'm waiting to see who will earn my vote. I'm not going to vote until someone makes an appeal to me. I'm undecided. I'm sitting it out. As it stands right now, I'm not voting. I will wait to be wined and dined and seduced. That's the position we need to take. And that's what frustrates me. I get these super chats questions all the time. People are always saying, well, who are we going to vote for then? Well, what are we going to do? Is it lesser of two evil? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are they going to do? What are we are trying to survive out here. Well, more so you guys. I'm comfortable. Thanks. But you guys are struggling. You guys are trying to survive. I know friends of mine, they have a STEM degree, they can't get a job. I know people that have a master's degree can't get a job. I know people that are really struggling out there. I know people that are trying to figure out how they're going to buy a home. What are we going to do? What are they going to do for us? That's the problem. The voters are tripping over themselves to say, I just can't wait to give my vote. Really? To another politician? Don't you understand? You have to get off of the hamster wheel. Take your own side. Take care of yourself. Fuck voting. Fuck all of that. Take care of the bag. Take care of your career, your bag. Don't even think about voting until the election. And then if somebody earns your vote, then do it as a transaction. I'm voting for this person because they said they're going to buy more Bitcoin and I own a lot of Bitcoin. I'm going to vote for this person because they're going to lower the interest rate and I want to buy a house. I'm going to vote for this person because they're going to wipe student loan debt and I have a lot of student loans. Wait for the game to come to us. It's early. The primary will probably start in about a year and 3 months, maybe at the earliest. We don't know who's running. We don't know their platform. We don't know what they're saying. Let's wait and see. Who is someone you're going to vote for regardless of, I don't know. I wouldn't vote for anyone regardless of party affiliation. I don't know who I'm going to vote for. I have no idea. Haven't even thought about it. I'm thinking about getting educated. I'm thinking about ascending. I'm thinking about bone smashing and jelking. I'm thinking about bone smashing, jelking, taking Retta. I'm thinking about putting on makeup. I'm thinking about ascending and working out. I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about, I'm clavicular pilled. Politics is jester. Politics is totally jester. Take care of the downside in your life. Take care of your eye bags. Take care of your upper orbital maxilla, whatever. Take care of that first. How about you take care of that?
Josh?
Oh, dude. I must have missed that whole clip or like the end of it, the jelking thing. That
Oh, you missed that? Yeah, this cracked me up. I loved it.
Bananas, dude.
Yeah.
that was funny. But yeah, I mean, honestly, big to what he said. And this is what we talked about before with the gun control thing is it's a lot of people. What I like about Nick and what I don't like about the people that don't like him is the lack of imagination. This is what kind of got me fascinated with Nick back in 2018 is he was proposing things that like no one was talking about. And people would say, they'd go like, well, isn't that against the Constitution? And he was like, fuck the Constitution. And it's like, that was like revolutionary for me at the time. I was like, hell yeah, dude. I'm a Christian. What does the Constitution ever? If this is what the Constitution brings, we need something else. Let's get it out of here. And it is funny. It is true Goy behavior where it's like, okay, well, I shouldn't vote for the Republican. Who should I vote for? It's like, you're not getting it, dude. It's
just don't vote.
It's not about who to vote for. It's about power. It's about what to do.
Right. Well,
creating a vacuum.
But again, it's like just being pragmatic, right? It's like,
right.
Just what do you mean vote? There's no one's even on the table right now. Or even better yet, just don't vote because who cares? Like, it's like at the end of the day, it's like there's really, and like, yeah, everybody's saying vote harder, but that's the point. The point is that because people don't hold their votes or wield them in the way that it would be actually meaningful, it doesn't matter, right? So you have this just entire, it's effed from all sides, right? This is why I am an accelerationist. I say vote, but vote for Gavin Newsom. Because in my opinion, it's going to take an extreme amount of like suffering. And I agree with not like starving, but I do think it's going to take an exceptional amount of people dealing with it or facing a lot more, getting it worse. And maybe not, honestly. I think if the economy is moving at this point, the way that it is, we might get there sooner than later, especially if the incoming president in 2028 doesn't solve anything and it continues to get worse. I mean, people are getting choked out like crazy. They're getting squeezed out really badly. And what we had talked about in Offensively Accurate earlier, 40% of people making over $300,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, so what are people making less than 50K doing? Selling drugs, selling their food stamps? Probably. That's stuff that we know about. But this idea, though, right, that I'm just going to address this because I've seen it 1,000 times in the chat. The 1776 thing, again, in my opinion, is full-blown LARP. It is full-blown LARP. And I don't mean that to be like rude or to say like to give up. I'm just saying like the whole idea that like you're going to get a group of guys and you're going to do what? What are you going to do? Tell me. What's step number one? You're going to meet at John's house and you're all going to bring your AK-47s. Like, to me, it's just like, I'm not sitting here being like, I don't agree with you. I'm saying you keep proposing things that I can't connect logically from A to B to C to D. And everyone says, well, we're going to do it. A revolution. Okay, take the first step. Who's number one? I'll be there. And then people say show of force and Patriot Front, the guy I'm going to have on here in the next week who got arrested and then they got pushed out because Patriot Front is a shitty organization. I guess my point is like, maybe I underestimated just how retarded people are too. And I don't mean that to be rude. I mean that to be like, it feels so meaningless to say that stuff. To me, it is such a throw your hands up and give up and we'll just go get our guns. You need, even if that was your goal, even if that's what you think the solution is, you need a plan, right? You need a plan. You need collectivization. You need a lot of things in place for it to be meaningful. And if you look at the places that are already trying to build something like that in the show of force, I mean, they're extremely toxic. And I don't know if Patriot Front's a threat. I really don't think that they are. But just knowing firsthand knowledge of how they treated somebody who did work with their organization, who did try to infiltrate the system and go into politics, who did ultimately get arrested for affiliation, they kicked him to the curb, said, you're no good. So have fun with those groups, man. Have fun, be party to that. Like, go ahead. But until someone can put something meaningful in front of me, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, everybody go get your gun. I'll be there. I'll be there at noon, 12:30. We're meeting up. To me, it's just retarded. And I'm curious. I'm sure you probably feel the same.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, how with the whole woman problem, you know, you do get some women where it's not a complete LARP. Like I've seen women that are not famous, you know, on like Instagram or TikTok. They're talking about like, I want to be in the kitchen. I hate going to school. I'm not cut out for this. Like, I just want to be a wife, but no one can afford to support me. And the men, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? And I wish we could also, in the same way we could get women back to baseline, we could get women's mentality back to the way it is. We need to get the slave class back to that mentality, the peasant class, you know, the serfs, the ditch diggers. We want to make it comfortable for the ditch diggers. We all want to live in harmony together. We'll make it happy, but you have to be comfortable with where you are. And that involves giving up your vote. You're not responsible enough for it. And I'll give up mine, dude. I would give up my vote if the cost of creating a truly great Christian nation was giving up my right to vote. I would do it in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that is the gate. These people will say, I exist in a demographic that I acknowledge is detrimental to everything that I stand for, but I will die before I let them take away our right to vote. Okay, so that's where your allegiances lie. You don't really care then.
Right. It's right. But again, it all falls back on like these, like, they don't know what they're voting for. And it goes back to even like more baseline stuff of even both men and women, right? Having these out-group preferences, you know, being indoctrinated to be voting outside of their own interest. And it's specifically like one group that gets targeted to do that. I'll bring up again the Walmart problem. I'm telling you, dude, people say revolution, and then I go to Walmart. Who's revolting? Are we the cavalry coming in on our assisted wheelchairs? Like, I'm telling you, some of you guys out here who say this shit are dude, you have got to go to the gym. I'm not going to be rude, but you need to go to the gym. You need to get your life together. Because I'm telling you, there's some people who push this stuff that it's like, you've never talked to them, and you are, and it's not to be rude. I mean this in the sense of like, it makes me sad. Sad in the sense that it's like, you've had a lot of things in your way. I'm not saying you're all to blame for that, but it goes back to even basic Jordan Peterson stuff. Like, you got to clean your room, man. You have to get some of these things in your life in order. And it's not to me to say like it's possible for everybody. I don't think it is. I think there is a clear hierarchy. But as I say, you got to at least try. And you got to do everything in your power to try. And because, man, if we're revolting with the people I see at Walmart, dude, I'm Jewish, actually.
Who is that
applying
guy
for citizenship in Israel.
Who was that guy that said you can smell them at Walmart? And that was like a big controversy. Some Democrat guy or maybe even Republican who said, you can smell them at Walmart. Go to the Walmart in Florence, South Carolina on a Saturday, and you will become like the Trump and right. You will become racist. It was never again. Like never going to Walmart on a Saturday ever again, or Costco ever. Costco in Charlotte, North Carolina is like going to that Indian poop festival.
I don't even want to have to think about that, but you're right. I mean,
It's
like there are certain
horrendous.
areas in Columbus that it just like the smell was so intense. I don't live there anymore now, but I mean, it was true. You couldn't, some places, like some storefronts, I'm not even joking. There's a Best Buy. I don't want to say where it's at because I don't want to give any location away. There's a Best Buy and near it is one of those like Hyderabad's. It's like a more of a franchise like Indian restaurant. Dude, permeating through the walls.
Oh,
I swear it was like orange was seeping through the side of the wall on the Best Buy that was leading up to it. It was intense. But there's certain parts of the city that's like that because it'd be like multiple in a row. You just get like, boom, like you're walking through like, Chipotle, Qdoba, curry, Japanese, it's like all at once. Sometimes it smells good. Sometimes it's just aggressive.
So, dude, yeah, like this was like when I was a DoorDasher in 2020 during COVID. This was before like the Indian invasion. It was before Indians were really on my radar in the way that they are now.
Right.
I DoorDashed from one Indian restaurant and I was like, never again. I rejected. Got an order from New Delhi. Bye. Not doing it.
Yeah.
It stunk up my clothes. It stunk up my car for a week.
Yep.
For a tray of food that was in my car for 10 minutes tops. Unbelievable.
It's funny because I didn't DoorDash, but I did do Uber Eats for a hot minute and many similar things. I can't tell you how many times like I would turn like too sharply and something would spill. Just eat that thing out of the vehicle. Just drop it off. Everything's there, man. No, just kidding. It didn't happen too often. But when it did, it would piss me off. It'd spill in my car. To move on, though, we'll repick back up on Tuesday. Well, actually, who picked the last clip? Was that me? It was me. It's your turn.
That was you. I've got a fun clip to kind of break up the tension. I've got a fun clip for us to watch.
Let's do it.
So this is number 8 on Thursday. Titled "Go Home Syrian."
Yes, I remember this one. All right, here we go.
Syrian apostate sent $20. I'm tired of Americans shilling for third worlders and their shitty cultures. I didn't migrate here to live in Somalia or Syria. I came here to eat bacon and celebrate Christmas.
No, you need to go back, dude. You need to go back. I came here to bacon and celebrate Christmas. Yeah, fuck off. You think we want Syrian refugees here? We don't want Syrian. Go back to Syria, bro. Like the war is over. You can go back now. The war is over. You have no reason to be here. You have no right to be here. Go home now. Okay? I didn't come from Syria to live in Somalia. I came here to eat bacon and celebrate Christmas. Yeah, we didn't invite you here, dude. You're like going into someone's house uninvited. Hey guys, I came here to eat dinner. Yeah, didn't invite you. Please leave. Thanks, but no thanks. No Syrian refugees. Return to sender. You can go home. You can celebrate Christmas in Syria, bro.
Masra Lawawi sent $30. Syrian apostate sent $20.
That is what it kind of sounds like, though, right? I'm here. I'm here. I'm ready for dinner. Whoa, who are you?
Yes,
funny,
my fellow Americans. I am here. I am just as American as you.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
If that's
funny
what
because his
Syrians
name
sound
is
like.
Syrian apostate.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is one of these guys, right? I would imagine he listens and watches to, what's it called? Nick pretty often. He puts a super chat in there being like, yeah, like Nick, I'm with you. And it's like, no, you're not. You must not listen to the show. Right? Like you're not with us. And so it's, that
Right.
funny.
Well, and on a like somewhat serious note, this is something I've talked about with Zeb before on Outside the Overton. It's like, this is one of those things where the boomers love their pet foreigner. They love to parade around Indian, Syrian, and that is a conservative. They find some guy from Paraguay that like goes to church and it voted for Trump, wears the MAGA hat, and he's on a pedestal for the rest of his life in the minds of these boomers. And here's the thing, I get it. Like, hey, that's great. That's great. He's probably a nice guy, but the good ones are not worth everything else.
Right.
They've all got to go. They've all got to go.
Right. I mean,
Sorry,
every single
Syrian
one.
apostate.
Well, I completely agree with you. I mean, this is what I'd said. I don't know when I said this, but I think it was with you. Like, Nick's going to begin to walk away from pushing the Overton window. He already has. Zeb talks about this pretty often, right? He's becoming de-escalatory. This is where we step in and go, no, we're going to keep pushing on the Overton window. Like, nothing's good enough. It doesn't even matter if Nick's president. Nothing's good enough. More right wing, more Jesus, more God. We won't stop until there's not a single trace of black person in America. You would have never thought they were even here. You'll look back in archaeology and be, wait, black people were in America? When? That's what it's got to be, the push here. But I don't even think you can get that without getting the acceleration first. And that's probably the biggest disagreement I even have with Nick, right? It's like, I'm accelerationist. I don't think there's a way. I'm very disbelief of the voting a pro candidate. I think we have to vote negative candidate. Now, I know that's obviously a controversial take for a lot of people, and obviously it's one step away from violent revolution. But I do think there has to be a deep reckoning, like mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I don't think there's any person that will be able to do that single-handedly. I don't think there's one JFK-like person. I know Nick's great, and Nick's a great orator, and I think he's very galvanizing. But I still think it's not enough to get people to really recalibrate how they think, feel, act, and behave. I think things will have to get worse. And it's not like I want them to get worse, but I think we see time and time again examples of this. I bring up Anna Kasparian all the time. All it took was her one time getting mugged on the subway, and she's literally being welcomed into the right wing because she's so anti-Israel, and she's moved on to being hard on crime. And I think maybe that's what it takes for the average person too. Maybe everybody needs to deal with Gavin Newsom for 4 years and really, really understand like how close to the brink this country is. And then maybe people will stop being racial cucks. Maybe people will stop being dog walked by their wife. Maybe people will just stop listening to women in general. Who knows what great things could come from that. But it also does bring about the possibility, like you're rolling the dice. You're taking a chance that the whole thing comes under. But if the idea is it's already happening anyways, why not try to accelerate it and hope that you can pull out or barrel roll to the left or the right? At least that's the way that I view it.
Yeah. And, this is actually something that when, woman propaganda, he's nearby, and him and his team were going to move to Florence. They were going to be like right next door to me and Zeb. But when we found out where he was moving to, it was like, oh, they're building Section 8 housing there. And so he ended up not coming. And it's like, but maybe that is what it takes. Like, we don't want Section 8 housing, but maybe that's what it takes to get it to the boomers' head. The boomers don't want Section 8 housing, but they'll pussyfoot around and be like, oh, well, it's because of the property value and blah, blah, blah. When you know exactly what it is.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll call it riffraff.
Maybe what it will take literally is it will literally take a 19-year-old girl robbing a 55-year-old guy with a gun to his head and saying like, you took this from me. And he's going to be like, what are you talking about? And she's going to be rabid and she's going to be like, I just want to survive. You took everything from me. Maybe that's what it's going to take for these people to get it through their heads. Like, what is going on? And I say this sadly because I have too many, quite frankly, I have like 2 a week, but that's too many conversations with boomers. I can't, I struggle. I sit and think all the time because I have conversations. Obviously I'm public, but I've put my face on it since I've started this shit. And forgive me, I'm cursing way too much. I have these conversations with people in my family, people in my wife's family, people who are even in the extended family, people around that. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what I try to argue with. It always results back into something of like, well, what can we do about it anyways? Because they know on the other side of that is going to be like, well, the other option of, well, what we're going to do about it is you guys acknowledging the role that you played and coming to the table and helping us with the real problems happening. But are we going to get boomers who are going to go, you know what, we did do wrong? Sure, but there's some of them, but it's negligible at best. And so I just kind of sit there and go like, the one thing that would really help this loop is if we could find some kind of issue that would help bridge that big gap between the ages, between Gen Z and Boomer. I don't really think you can even find a bridge that will work with that. So that's not to be blackpilled. That's to say, I think just you got to write off the Boomers.
And that's like I remember Chuck when we had him on and he was talking about postmodernism. It's one of these things where it's like, he's right about that, where it's like, there is this mentality where people for all time like, it didn't matter how stupid, like most people couldn't read, but you know what? If you were to ask a person 500 years ago, who couldn't read, who had their teeth were rotting out of their head, and you were to ask them, what is the difference like in your mind, like how you perceive yourself between you and someone who is your descendant 200 years from now? They would think about their descendant that is 200 years into the future, like their own family, like that they know personally.
Yeah.
The people today don't think like that. Well, I'm not going to have kids because then I can't go to Maui or something. It doesn't matter what happens in 200 years because, well, God's going to work it out, which is true. But like, bad shit happens. God's not stopping genocide. God's not policing the world. That's on us. We have to do it.
Right.
You have to think about people that aren't right in front of you, like your sisters, like your mother, like your brothers.
Well, that's the in-group bias has been beaten out of white people. That's part of like the indoctrination. And I think those things could easily be rolled back because, I mean, it's not natural. You have to be basically taught and it needs to be socially reinforced from the institutions and from, like we covered, or like I covered with, I always forget his name, Adam Carolla, where he talked about how during COVID, like they didn't need everyone to be on the side of things. They already knew that most men are already being dog walked by their wives. So they just had to make sure they convinced the women that they needed to get the jab because the women are the disciplinarians. The woman would enforce it. That was the social reinforcement. The institutions provide the consensus, and that exploits the woman's inability to think critically in and of themselves. And so they default to consensus, and then they're terrified of their kids and they have to get the jab. And all it takes is a doctor saying it. And so they exploit all these things. And so with that being an element, there is like, that's some of the reckoning overall in particular, I think, that I don't know you can walk that back, even if you get rid of some of the indoctrination. It's like there needs to be something even more, I hate to say galvanizing so many times, but something that's so riveting that opens your eyes and you go, you're like, you're right. Like I am failing my sons and children by like not being the man I need to be. You're right. Like I'm failing because I'm not honoring the word of God. I'm not doing these things. I'm putting my wife in positions she shouldn't be in. I'm doing things. I'm being submissive. My own nature has become perverted. I am not the man that God built me. Like, I don't know how you get that level of shit without really making somebody feel it. And so what that may be, I have no idea.
You know what I would do if I were the president? You know how they have a system in place where the president can basically send out a thing. It's like Amber Alerts. You know how everyone gets an Amber Alert.
Right.
I would do that, but I was like, here's your Amber Alert for the day. And it's just one of those videos of like an old woman on the side of the road with a walker. And then just some black guy just decks her in the face and basically kills her because she's white. I mean, I'm not saying that to be funny. I mean, you've seen those videos and they're terrible, but it's like, people don't see that. We see it because we're on Twitter and, the algorithm and whatnot. And
right.
when you look for it, it's there. But like the people at home, like a lot of my family that just watches television, they don't show that. In like at best case scenario, you get something so horrific as the Irina Zarutska incident in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right.
And you see still images with no blood in it.
Right.
And you see a pretty white girl, like, like from her Instagram, it's like, okay, well, this girl is dead. It's like, okay, when you see a happy-go-lucky picture from her graduation photos and you just say, this person is dead, that's not the same as seeing like, who was that girl, Lainey or something? The girl, Lake and Riley. Yeah. Not seeing the video of her getting sexually assaulted. It's horrible, and we don't want to see those things, but that's exactly why you need to see them. That's exactly why you need to have it shoved in your face. This is a problem, and if you don't fix it, it's coming for you.
But, well, that's the thing that I'm kind of like, I was already there, like 10 years ago, I didn't need to see videos of it. And I was about to bring up Austin Metcalf. Thank you, Zeb. But like, I just need, hearing that whites are being placed on the bottom of the totem pole. It's open season to just do whatever you want to whites. They need to hold this collective guilt. I was pissed then, and I'm reading pamphlets from like the ADL or whatever else kind of Jewish organization shoved it down to the DOE, and I was mad then. Where are all the guys who were older than me, right? That's kind of, again, this goes back to this kind of just this break here, which is like, what? How did they get a generation of men that were just like, I love it, dude? And this is what I mean all the time, dude. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. There's a type, an archetype of man that it's almost like he enjoys being cucked. And we already know there's obviously the fetish, but I mean in all other elements. I'm talking about the guy who for some reason like won't stop talking about black dudes. Like, bro, like chill, dude. It's like you're like obsessed with them. You also have these other elements too. And it saddens me. Like it is one of the most depressing things to have to witness is kind of like you compare a white man, literally any other race. Now you can get some good ones if you pull like a conservative guy, you'd be like, okay. But you pull one of these like self-hating like white liberal dudes, it's like, here's this twink, he's been emasculated. Now with black men too, it's been happening as well. You can see them do these emasculation rituals, making NFL players wear skirts and shit. But it's like, we weren't mad then. And it's like, I'm kind of sad to the point, and it's more to my point too, because what you're saying is like people literally, it needs to happen 4 feet in front of them. A child literally needs to be kidnapped and like assaulted in front of somebody for them to act. And if that's where the point we're at, then yes, Gavin Newsom 2028, because I can't do it anymore. We need a hard global new world order, hard reset, dude. I don't know what it needs to be, but the point remains, dude.
A hard R. We need that hard R.
Hard R. Because the point stands, like there are not men with conviction and with beliefs like there used to be. And if we do need to move to a 1776, we need the men that actually carried it out. And we don't have many of them right now. So it's another further point, not to say men are to blame, but there is work that needs to be done. Moving on though, let's move on to another clip here. I think you picked the last one. Grab this one. This one was actually, I want to do this one because this will piss everybody off. Episode number 10 of another enraging Dear Groypers from, what's his name? Gates Garcia, which I found out his real name is Randall. Absolutely insane. But yeah, I was going to bring up Metcalf because like what happened with that, right? Young kid, like, I don't know if he was like a promising track star or whatever, but like literally stabbed in the chest in public at an event over something so retarded that they won't even show the video of because they know it is so incriminating to the other individual. And I forget his name. What, Carmelo Anthony?
Yep.
Yeah, again, they hate you. Like you gotta live your life as if everybody around you literally hates you because they do. But here's this other enraging Dear Groyper video. I don't know if we'll watch the whole thing because it's probably gonna irritate everybody. But here it is. Well, there we go.
Fuentes followers. I'm going to directly address him in a minute, but first, I want to provide you with some perspective. There's a line you've heard. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. You've posted it. You've liked it. I've seen some of you quote it. But there's a difference between knowing that line and living the truth behind it. Because right now, you're part of the generation born in the good times, blessed with comfort, convenience, and endless possibility. And in that comfort, many of you have grown soft. Not because you're bad, not because you're doomed, but because comfort is a thief. So this message is a warning, a challenge, a chance to flip the script. But before we go further, you need to hear something. Life has always been hard. for every generation, for every man, across all of human history. Hard isn't the exception, it's the rule. And that's not a tragedy. That's the beauty of it. Because the hardness of life is what makes life meaningful. What's earned is treasured. What's suffered.
Okay, that's all I can handle. It's too much. It's too much. And the point that I wanted to show this here again is what we have here again is this individual pushing. Same thing with Ben Shapiro. Same thing with these other guys. Like Chuck the Cuck. I like Chuck. But the point stands is they're continually pushing this message that is entirely erroneous. It's not landing with anybody. And for him in particular, too, for one, I found out he's also like a trust fund baby from Zeb. That this guy is going to say that we are the ones being born in the good times is like, holy shit. Like, can you come back to reality, dude? Like, where are you? And also, I think another point to be made too about this guy is he's just mass printing videos. And I think Zeb pulled it out on his show too, but it's got to be an AI script. This guy is going to ChatGPT or something and is typing in, I need a strong message for young disaffected men and make me sound cool. Like, okay, well, that was really gay. And they keep pushing it. So I'm kind of curious what your thoughts is on this overall, and then why they keep pushing the same stuff, Josh.
This, you know what that video like reminds me of? This video, like it feels like an audition tape where the speech he has is like something out of a movie, and he's giving the like, and then this, and this, and
Take
this,
your
and
Israeli
that. You know, it's like the
family and
gyrations
go
and all the movements are so. God, like it's one of
Trained.
the gayest things I've ever seen, and it's like he's talking like Zeb when he covered it. There's just one of these like you feel talked down to, belittled, and it's like, dude, that's you. Like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
And it's like he's like, well, why are people? It's so obvious why people are flocking to Nick Fuentes because he's not a fag. He's not like this wimp that is just getting off on coming across like what they're saying matters. You know what I mean? Like here's my MLK speech.
Well, they keep pushing this thing as if like, I think more specifically, they keep saying it's not what the problem is, right? It's like what they keep doing is they're saying, you guys think the problem is X, but the problem is really Y. And they've done it multiple times. Aaron Wexler's done this. Gates Garcia has done this. Ben Shapiro has done this. Crowder has done this. Tucker Carlson has done this. Almost everybody has done this. And it is infuriating. Because we're not, like, for me, it's like the line's not moving. It's like you either come to the table and we can have a discussion about what I am posing to you as the problem, or there's no discussion to be had at all. There's no me going like, oh no, you're right. Like there is some elements about us being controlled by a foreign nation that's good. Oh no, you're right. There are elements about like why America shouldn't be for its own people. And so again, I don't, maybe this is part of the destabilization as well, because there's no way that they have some strategist or marketer sitting there going, this is really going to work. This is really going to land. This is going to bolster you. But I do think also for him in particular, Mr. Gates Garcia, I think specifically for him, he's doing this knowing it's going to help bolster
Israeli
him.
family
It's going to
and
push him
go
further up
home.
into the market. But let me get a couple of these actually, obviously for social media clout. We have this one here. This is from Lowmat1503. He said, Redacted Channel just did a piece on Israel recruiting 1,000 pastors in America. They're trying to brainwash the masses. That shouldn't be addressed. We're going to be in trouble for real. Yeah, Redacted covered it. So did Chris Menahan. They roped in. It was like a Jewish Congress almost, but it's like a conference. I can't remember who had hosted it. But Mike Huckabee was there. He was like the main keynote speaker. He was pushing the same thing, which is like there's this growing Christian belief that Israel's not foundational to a belief as a Christian, and he's like it's very dangerous as heresy, and so like that's what they're pushing. This is not the first thing that's went in this. Obviously, the geofencing campaign was the first one. It's one of the first and few only things Israel has ever had to sign up under the Foreign Agent Registration Act. And that's because they are setting up for 11 a.m. worship times. They're going to be turning on their their geofence, which is basically to detect all of the phones inside of these places of worship from the times of worship, so they can then just have more targeted people to send their pro-Israel propaganda. It's a huge problem. It's a major problem. But what are we going to do about it? Well, for that, something you would have to vote for it, right? Or, I mean, many people in chat, I think you maybe just go grab your gun and go shoot him, I guess. Right? Like, it seems like, what's the solution there? But yeah, it's a huge problem. And it's part of the co-opting that's been happening since like the early 1900s. It's the idea to get the majority of Christianity onto the co-opted train of Christian Zionism. And that is in of itself a heresy. They talk to us like we're the replacement theology. That's what they'll tell us, right? People who think the opposite. But Zeb Boykin said, check XDM on Garcia's background. Let me do that then. Zeb sent me a DM, but I'm curious if I open it, the FBI is going to bang through my door.
Yeah, like, well, and it's to the point where Nick has hit a point where you're getting one of two things. It's either everyone's ankle biting him. Now it's either you get the Steven Crowders and Tucker Carlsons that are getting him on because they have to, or it will help them, and the people that are going hard against him because of the credibility they get with everyone who disagrees with Nick. And that's exactly, like, you nailed it on the head there, Atlas, where that's what Gates Garcia is doing. He's giving this gay little speech to basically reassure the boomer audience that they're right and Nick Fuentes is wrong.
Right. But it only works for people who like are, they breathe through their mouth. So this is what Zeb brought in. And so it looks like this is a little bit of an expose on, what's his name? Randall Garcia again. This is from Kool-Aid Assassin. It says he forgot to add the trust fund baby part, but no worries, I got him. And so this is his name, Randall Gates Garcia here. This is him, president and CEO, and looks like his dad right there, the chairman, Martin Garcia. Wow, that's lovely, man. This guy had a really hard life. I can't imagine what it would be like growing up as a trust fund baby. I've only lived in like the shittiest parts of Ohio my entire life and in a mobile home right now. That's crazy, dude. He has it much worse than I do. And this is Zeb right here. I couldn't find anything on him prior to 9 months ago. Granted, it didn't look terribly hard, but it shouldn't be, especially this. That's interesting. Also said that he tried to profile his dad's company. Interesting. He really tried to fool people, trying to pretend he's some hard worker and built many businesses and shit, but forgive me. When he's not only a trust fund baby, but his father served in the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. That's why he goes by Gates, but his real name is Randall Gates Garcia. Lovely. Lovely. Not surprised in the slightest. And, I mean, I don't even think you need to think about it too hard. You just look at the guy's body language. I think it was telegraphing to me that he was not an authentic person. He was being performative. He was a part of a production, like he's partly acting. But go ahead, Josh.
Timu John Travolta.
Yeah, I saw somebody said that in chat. He does look like Timu John Travolta. But moving on, Josh, it is your clip.
Yeah, I had it pulled up a second ago. What day is it? Tuesday, number 12. You'll like this one, Atlas. And it's basically along the lines of going back to kind of the woman question is it's like, where do a lot of our problems lie?
Yeah. Let's do it. Say that. Give me the number again.
Number 12 on Tuesday.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Not this one. It's doing that jumping around thing. There we go, though.
Been so fucking mind raped by women. It's not even funny. Men need to start like doing what they feel and being who they are and stop with this like over socialized, feminized programming that we've gotten from women where we're being told like, I was talking to that guy, Tommy G, who was over here. He said, my wife is like a mythical creature. Tucker said, my wife is so mysterious. What? It's insane. Real masculinity is breastfeeding your newborn. Like, okay, you have gone insane. It's like, it's enough it makes you want to convert to Islam. And I don't. But like Muslims are straight up right about women. This is why the West is fucking dying. The West is dying because we are simps. We are being bossed around and controlled by women, even when we're not. Even when we're not, psychologically we are. And that makes us a ridiculous society. It is a ridiculous society that we are listening to these overgrown children being bossed around, constantly having to explain ourselves to them, appeal to them, deal with their emotions like it's anything other than sentiment. This is why we're a fucking joke of a country. You think that flies in China? You think that flies in Saudi Arabia? You think that flies in Russia? It doesn't. And over here we say, those men are sexist pigs. It's like, no, they're men. We are a joke. The women don't even respect it. The women don't even respect it, you know? That's the best part. So, yeah, I mean, I just can't stand, I can't take another one of those lectures from the wife guys, the simps, and they're just good little boys, you know, stuff them in their fucking pocket. Their wife practically carries them around in their purse. And they unzip their purse, and, you know, a Protestant with a baseball cap and a stupid fucking beard pops out and says, real masculinity is when I do whatever my wife says. And she goes, good boy, good boy. You know, one of these bald, bearded fucking losers pops out and says, real masculinity is when you respect your wife as your peer and your equal. And she goes, that's the man I married. Want a treat? If you fill out your chore chart, I'll give you a blowjob. It's like, I just can't. Feminism must be eradicated. It just must be eradicated in the United States. It just has to go. It's like the last remaining taboo, even more so than Jews. You can talk about blacks. You can talk about Muslims. You can talk about Hispanics. Lately, you can even talk about Jews. You cannot talk about women, because this is, you know, because then everybody loses their minds. The women freak out, the simps freak out, and it's just, somebody's got to call this out. And it has to be me, I suppose. The other thing is they're all podcasters. They're all podcasters acting like they're better than me. I'm way better at this than you are. Podcasters with no following, with a fraction of the audience, they got no motion, and they go, this guy is just a troll. This guy he's never built anything. All he does is troll. Hey, we're both podcasters. I'm just 1,000 times better at it than you are. So what are you talking about? You know, you're a podcaster on a podcast saying, this other podcaster, he never built anything. Well, I'm better at your job than you are. So maybe that counts for something. Anyway.
How many times have I said that? How many times have I said and been pushing, I do think the woman question is a lot more taboo of a thing to approach, like in a full-throated manner, in terms of like what it would actually mean to fully eradicate feminism. And I think it's a simple proxy of the fact of the average guy is he has built his life into a position where he has cornered himself. He has layered the bricks around himself, and he is in a dark room now. Like, that's your problem, bud. And one thing I'll add too for spin to you, Josh, did you see his quote tweet from Kamani's like super gay post about like treating women like a flower?
No,
you didn't see that? Oh, it's so good.
Do I want to know?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. So he
God.
quoted it, and he was like, I think we should bomb Iran actually, or something like that. It was pretty funny. But it was Kamani saying like, I hear some men say, they come home, they say, why is my house not clean? Why is the kitchen so dirty? No. A real man says, my wife is a beautiful flower, and I must treat her with such beauty. It was like one of the gayest things I've read. But Kamani reposts the same thing every so often. And it was just funny to see Nick quote it. But I'll turn it to you. What are your kind of broad thoughts?
Yeah, that it's so true. I was thinking about that, where it's like the woman question is the one thing where it is you versus everybody. And I mean everybody, where it's like, where if you criticize the blacks, you'll probably get some Hispanics on your side. You'll get women on your side. You'll even get some Jews on your side. You criticize the Jews, you're going to have blacks on your side for the most part. Other minority groups, everyone's kind of softening up to it. Women, it is not guys versus gals.
Right.
It is you versus everybody else. And I'll tell you, like, love you, mom and dad, love you, family. But that's the one thing where it's like, when I go on some of these shows and we talk about the Jews, we talk about the blacks, it's, I get where you're coming from and you make a lot of good points, but just be careful about how it comes across. You don't want to get in trouble.
Yep.
Okay. Women are monsters. You need to stop talking like that. You're tearing us apart or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's like you're 28 and you're not married. It's like, I'm 28 and I'm not married because it's hell out here. I talk to girls and it's exhausting because it's like, oh, I want a good Christian man. How many bodies you got? Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm not going off the rip, but once it gets to that point, 8,
Yeah. I mean, well, and also in addition to all of that too, I think what sticks out to me as well is kind of like, and then let me actually back up and say this. I think the most egregious part of it that I've always said, I think I said this even like 3 or 4 years ago, that my biggest problem with it is the fact that we lied to young boys. That young boys are lied to about how women operate. It's done by parents, it's done by the school system, it's done via social reinforcement. And that is vile. I mean, like lying to children for the protection of what? To only kind of set them on a path that is entirely fraudulent. And so I usually reference this by saying, like, they'll teach, in young programs, right? Cartoons, the school teachers in your books, women want to, they want flowers. They want you to be super nice. They want you to hold the door open for them. They want you to treat them as their equal. It's a lie. That's not what they want. That's not how women sexually select. And to me, that is a very baseline level lie that needs to be removed from school. And I think it does need to be addressed, similar to what we talked about with the contrast there, which we'll go to that next, is you have Nick Fuentes being, how many days now, being attacked for his position, what he said about Stalin, even though it's like literally objectively true, right? Stalin is one of the greatest figures in history, objectively true. He's being screamed at, whinged at, and henpecked. But what's not being shamed is the fact that we know, and I'm glad Steven Crowder put this up on air, he had the abstract on air from a PubMed research paper that showed about 62% of women has had a rape fantasy. 62%. Then you can go further and look at like the literature and the kinks and such, and like that is such a foundational lie that it sets men up from the early era. Like it's like, okay, I need to be super nice. And immediately it's like men are broken out of that when they see as long as you're the fastest kid in the 6th grade, you get all the women. It's like he wasn't getting them flowers, right? It was like he had some kind of superior trait, a physicality to him that was dominant. That's what women wanted. That's why the women were attracted to them. Even in like the elementary school, people know what I'm talking about. And that's what I think it's foundational lie. But how do you get rid of that? I mean, I would argue like that is in the interest of young men, that they no longer be lied to, or at the very least, that should not be pushed like in education and in programming. Not to say not to be nice to women, but to build a lie or build a path or a narrative for men of how they need to operate and engage with women that's completely wrong. To me, I think it's entirely damaging, not only just to the psyche, but to the overall nature of all, our entire ecosystem.
No, dude, 100%. And the funny thing is it also affects the women. Not that not that I care about what women are going through, but like they think that. I was talking with a girl recently, and it was like the worst person to go, if you're a man, the worst people you can go to for advice on women is women, because they will tell you to get flowers. They will tell you to do this thing. it does not work.
Right.
Because like women, they don't even understand their own psychology. They don't even understand their own innermost desires. It must be shown to them. It
Right.
must be done to them. That is the red pill for men on women, is lead. And if they say no, they're lost. Goodbye. That's it.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, is it's just, if you had a more organic or a more honest approach to that, you might not have men like killing themselves at the rate that we see them, right? Who have built themselves into a certain kind of, lifestyle, or maybe they thought, maybe if I don't do this, or I'm like, it's big. There's obviously huge problems with it. And again, that's the whole reason why Andrew Tate didn't just come out of nowhere, right? The guy says something and everybody was like, yes, I agree with that. That's why you have even pastors nowadays having to address Andrew Tate because of how much of a presence he is. And then not to mention the fact that, again, evangelical and Protestants are basically bleeding people over to Orthodoxy, which I haven't checked up on that recently, so I'm not sure what the recent rates are. But there, for a good portion of the end of 2024 into early 2025, you had people leaving evangelical and Protestant churches left and right for Orthodox and Roman Catholicism. And part of that comes down to the fact that there is not structure. And too many Protestant churches teach fallible and wrong teachings about how men and women should behave and how a marriage should be structured. But to move on to there, is it my clip now?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty sure it was. Where is this one? Let me grab this here. This is Ben Shapiro backing out at the last minute with Steven Crowder. Now, this is something that didn't get as much play as I thought it would, seeing it in the viral space. But supposedly, Steven Crowder had also reached out to Ben Shapiro for the appearance that he did with Nick Fuentes. And he also mentioned, I believe it was Jillian Michaels and a couple other people. And the only person that responded was Nick. So here's this.
We should stop funding all sides of the war in the Middle East. And hopefully you find that a reasonable position, whether you agree with it or not. I don't think that's extreme. And Ben didn't seem all too bothered by it. But I also invited him to be on the show, and he was going to, and he disappeared. But I just saw him on with Don Lemon and David Pakman. So I guess they're not so abhorrent.
That's interesting. So he agreed to come on, but then he canceled?
Yeah, it was just sort of informal, by text. And then I just haven't heard back from him. He's been on the show many times. So I'll give you credit, Nick. Candace, Tucker, Ben, Mark, everyone invited on. You're the only one with the balls to show up. I have to give you kudos for that.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate, even though you didn't call me out, I saw the clip. I was like, where's my
I
call
knew you would
out?
show up. You're like the candy. You're like the candy man. I say your name 3 times in the camera, you'll show up. No, but we did reach out. I said we didn't want to because we didn't want it to be a conflict. We had already communicated, or my producer had, and I didn't want to call you out as though you were ducking. Those other people have been ducking.
Oh yeah, totally fine. No, and I'm here, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And, I think we agree on, maybe this is going to sound like I'm kissing your ass a little bit, but I do always feel like you were less bad than all the other people in the conservative movement.
That's high praise.
Well, and I know that sounds lame, but I mean, during the Groyper war, I know that Groyper showed up to your events. And I remember thinking, like, Crowder's he's not even really bad on many of the issues, like Daily Wire, even like Turning Point was 6 years ago. They got a lot better in the intervening, maybe the past 3 years.
Yeah.
But I always think you have balls. So I think you're one of the more creditable people in the Con Inc. kind of scene.
Well, come on, don't put me in that scene. That's the thing. I'm not in that scene at all. I've been rejected by that scene, just maybe not quite like you, but quite a bit. I mean, I said the N-word on Piers Morgan. That counts for something.
So is Steven Crowder less bad than the rest of them? Oh, you're muted, I think.
Am I muted?
Not now.
Not now. My bad, guys. But I think Steven Crowder is I think he is less bad than the others in the sense that I know his reputation. I know he's a workhorse. I know he's considered kind of an asshole. But I also do think, kind of like Nick has, he goes, Mug Club is that way. I think Steven Crowder is kind of dumb or average in these spaces, and therefore not a valuable asset. So is he a Fed? I lean towards probably not, but I haven't looked into it. And honestly, like he's not he he's an entertainer. You know what I mean? I don't watch his show. I'm not entertained by it, but I get where he's coming from. You know, he wasn't bad on H1Bs like Charlie Kirk was.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good moments we've gotten from Steven Crowder, right? I think he was one of the top people, especially in like the 2020. You know, all the data he was getting from all the voting sites, he did pretty good work there. Even more recently, one thing I gave him credit for a lot was the conversation push with the black people. When he was talking about how, like, listen, like, understand it's like your guys' behavior is making people racist. And like, I was like, well, that's good, right? It still kind of falls in line with the whole, like, well, now black people and gays are now open season. You know, we're opening more valves up. And so there's that, but I still think it overall still pushes in the right direction. But you're right. I mean, he's an entertainer. He's a former actor. I've never liked him because he's always come across like that. Like it is a performance, like it is a show, like he wants it to be all theater. I don't really care too much about that. That's why I prefer more of the Ian Carroll approach, just the straight like ripping of facts and like reading things. And sometimes I got to replay it because I wasn't listening to what he was saying. But Steven Crowder, I would say like in maybe the slightest bit of percentage, and maybe purely just from what he did from the Daily Wire, the expose he did on Jeremy Boring, publishing the audio recording of how Jeremy was talking about the contract negotiations and how they treat people, you know, wage slaves. I'll remember that forever. He brought the big recorder out. Like he pressed the button on the next day on the episode. Wage slaves. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh man, yeah, because this was in the period when Crowder was in talks with the Daily Wire to bring a show over to Daily Wire, because I think he had recently been banned somewhere. But
I remember that was kind of big in the news when me and Zeb started Outside the Overton. That was a huge story back then.
Yeah, and it was the reason he had beef with it was less so about the wage slaves. He just used that to make Jeremy look worse. It was the fact that in the language of the contract, it was like if Steven Crowder would have signed it then, 110% of his earnings would have had to been given to the Daily Wire. Meaning if he signed the contract, he would have owed the Daily Wire money because of how it details out. If you're banned on platforms, you owe money back to the Daily Wire. Basically, de facto, doing the bidding of big tech by the Daily Wire making all of their people follow the rules of Google, which is kind of the big point that was brought out by Crowder, which is like, how can you say you're the number one flagship conservative organization, but you're making everyone who works for you honor big tech and everything that comes from it? It's like, this isn't how it works. I thought that was a good piece from Crowder, but no, I overall just don't really care for him.
Yeah. And the way I see it is it's like he's in the tier that he is in. You can't get out of it. But I would say it is like, let's say Steven Crowder had some sort of awakening, he would be an asset. You know, if he got JQ pilled, I think he would be. But I think, like you said, at the end of the day, he's a theater kid. People say he's gay, and look, I've never dressed up as a woman. And I think, 2015 playing the joke, you get one freebie, but he did it a lot. So that's pretty sus.
I kind of put him and Tim Pool in the same category. I think like they're more concerned about money in like the production.
Yes.
And that's why I think you
absolutely.
can get like good bits from them, is because even if it's going to be like edgy or like outside of their camp, they'll still go to it and cover it and engage with it because it's going to be good clicks for them. And so like that has some level of use to it, right? Where it's like, they're obviously not full-throated endorsing some of the stuff that they kind of push out. Like with this recent stuff with Tim Pool and Candace. Like, I don't think any of that's really because Tim Pool has any strong feelings there. I think Tim Pool has been looking at his ratings dying. Same thing with Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder sees his ratings dying. He goes, I'll have on Nick Fuentes. Tim Pool, because he has a really bad relationship with Nick Fuentes, that's the kind of like off the table. He sees, well, you know what? I'm going to start calling Candace Owens evil. I'm going to start bringing the conversation back to me, have it circle around me. And next thing you know, the day later, his compound got shot. So to me, I find that a bit curious. I find that a bit odd, if you will. It almost kind of feels like it is an effort to get some of the social clout back on Tim Pool. And I think he has been bleeding credibility basically ever since Nick has gone on this run. And so hasn't everybody else too.
Is it fake? Who knows? But is he going to milk it? 100%. Yeah. Before we wrap and go into the members only portion of the show, do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is number 3 on Friday. I wanted to go into this one because we've talked a lot about some of the fun stuff, some of the takes, but this was actually I think an important political take by Nick, because I'm already seeing it. Family members, friends of mine, they're back on the Trump train because he's calling Somalians stupid and ugly, and he's anti-immigration again. But this is because of his rate. This is because his approval ratings are in the toilet. And
Yep.
Nick rightfully brought this up, that this is exactly what he did in the midterms in 2018. He brought in the National Guard, and then as soon as the midterms were over, they were gone.
Yep.
And it was over. So that's 3 on Friday.
Let's do it.
Trump has been saying on immigration, and I'll grant you, like with the national defense strategy, it's good rhetoric. I've been very pleased with the rhetoric. Who could be unhappy right now? And I'm talking about his comments about Somalia and Somalians. Apparently today he posted on Truth Social a post criticizing the Hart-Celler Act, the 1965 Immigration Act, which got rid of the national origins quotas. Many people attribute the mass migration of non-white people into the United States to this bill. They say because prior to 1965, we could control where the immigrants were coming from, how many would be permitted into the country. And after 65, we got an infinite number of immigrants from the third world. 1990 is really when the volume became the problem. 65 is maybe qualitatively when it became a problem. And so Trump reposted this long post on Truth Social talking about the history of immigration policy and specifically laying the blame at the 1965 law. And I see everybody is celebrating this. Everybody is saying, isn't this terrific? This is the best thing ever. I love what Trump has been saying. And I have to be honest, this is a strategy that we've seen a million times before. And we've talked about it all week. I think I talked about it Monday, Tuesday, with regard to Somalia. This is a very concerted and deliberate slop offensive. We are in a full-on slop siege, slop offensive. Slop is being thrown over the city walls onto everybody. And I can't believe people are falling for it all over again. It's no different than during the RNC last year when everybody held up those signs that said mass deportations. And any time that Trump said something contradictory, people pointed at the slop. So when Trump said, we're going to staple green cards to diplomas, people said, yeah, but look at the slop. Look at the placards, the signs. And I feel like that's happening all over again. Here we are. We're a year into the presidency. It is a complete disaster. Everything is in the garbage. Everything sucks. The polling, the favorability, generic ballot, the economy, the foreign policy. It's all terrible. And here we go again. When things get bad, Trump is going to wheel out the dog shit. And now we're suddenly going to sound really hardcore and really severe on immigration. And now we're going to talk about white genocide. And now we're going to talk about Hart-Celler. And people are already saying, oh, problem solved. We're back. We're not back. We're not back until there are no Chinese students coming into America. We're not back until there's no H-1B visas being given to Indians. We're not back until we stop protecting illegal immigrants that are working on farms, construction sites, and in hospitality. As long as that is going on and we're not getting mass deportations, then frankly, who fucking cares what Trump says on Truth Social or what he says in a press conference? It does not matter if he's not following up, if he's not following through with actual policy.
And thank you, Smelly Balls, for becoming a member. We appreciate that. Welcome to Nav Silver. Josh is muted again. He cannot find his mute button to save his life.
I apologize.
No, you're good.
Welcome, Smelly Balls. We love our Smelly Balls here. Yeah, I mean, I think this is incredibly important because it won't matter, because what Trump is doing is trying to is trying to corral the base because of the midterms, which he's going to lose. There's no doubt in my mind. The Republicans are going to lose big time during the midterms. And excuse me. The thing is, this is like Nick actually brought this up in a different section, that this is the problem with what's going on, is what Trump is doing, or rather what he's not doing with immigration, is kind of stirring us up. It's kind of stirring up people going like, what's going on, man? But then when he does this, it's a pressure release valve, and it just rallies people back in. It just corrals the cattle.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Do you think the same thing is true? Well, I guess you could kind of preface this, right? The new national security strategy, bringing out the Trump corollary, I guess, addition to the Monroe Doctrine. Nick, what he was talking about, it sounded like he enjoyed it. He liked the language of it. But I'm also kind of hesitant too. I think that's also part of it. Them also might be part of the red meat there as well too, especially because it's also like largely worded, towards Europe, and less so like America. But who knows? Maybe this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, because we're so willing to like poke holes in this, because we're so used to 1 step forward, 10 steps back, and we have no reason to think that this wouldn't be any different. Totally justified, but at the same time, it is kind of nice that they are basically acknowledging white genocide in an official capacity. It's not a campaign speech. It is right. It is written. It is in there, and so that is nice. But as Nick himself said, implementation. What do we do about it now? And like you just said, he's talking about Europe, which is important. I mean, Europe is screwed and we're next, but but we're not in Europe.
Yeah. And if you were in Europe, the Islamification of Europe is actually that would be deemed a threat. Here in America, it's much less so at this point right now.
Right.
Let me answer 2 questions before we go ahead and sign off here. So Junior Williams says, Atlas, do you think they will lose the Senate too? I would lean that way. I'm less convinced. I think that's more of a toss-up. The House for sure. The House particularly, like Nancy Mace has contemplated retiring. There's a few other things that's like even outside of voting, we may lose people from the House in general. And I think you have to, MTG's retiring too, obviously at the beginning of January. So we're losing people. And I forget how those kind of special elections take place. It's been a minute since I've looked that up. But the Senate less so. I think the House poly market was at a 70. I think it's still around like a 71, 72% chance that the Democrats will take it. And I would imagine that will be the case. Historically, midterms have always helped the opposition party. Or it's always went the opposition party's way. And like many people kind of understand how elections go, elections are referendums on the previous party, or in midterms, the sitting party. And right now, I would wager to say most people are discontent with how the economy and the rest of everything is going in America. So I would expect to see major losses in the midterms. We already saw them with Jay Jones, Spanberger, and Mamdani, as well as the Minneapolis mayor. I would expect to see more of the same. And in particular, in Virginia, Jay Jones, literally going to be the attorney general, was talking about harming kids. And he still won by 7%. So, and that wasn't even technically like a midterm. So I would suspect yes, unfortunately. And I'll address this one, Jensen Gore. It says solutions. My solution's been the same thing it's been for the longest time. I'm a very outspoken accelerationist. I think that is, for me in particular, I think that is the path we need to take. Specifically, solutions for individual men. I talk about that all the time. I think the average person needs to clean themselves up. You need to have the confidence to be able to post your own face, do things publicly. You need to be able to talk to your family about these issues. You need to be able to not red pill 7-year-olds, but you need to be able to have a conversation with your parents about why you're structuring your life the way that you do. And if you can't even convince or talk to your own parents, you're not going to be able to talk to anybody else. Thirdly, you need to be educated. You need to know what the hell is going on consistently. You need to be vigilant with what's going on. And it's work. It's a lot of work. And if you can't do that yourself, you have to find, like many people do, a good source of news to go to who you can trust. It's hard to find nowadays, but you have to do the work. It's part of it. It's part of being vigilant and taking care of it. It's a duty as a citizen of this country to know what's going on in it. And then lastly, it's acquiring power. And what is really power anymore? Power is money. And so I I would push all of that. You need to be acquiring all of these things. And what's the biggest thing we talk about that the dissident right doesn't have? We don't have a financier. We don't have somebody who can easily put together coalitions, organizations, fund this, fund that. We don't have it. And why is that? Why is it that there is no finance in the dissident right group? Are we all just a bunch of broke guys complaining and angry? I don't think that. And so to me, my solution would be to the average man is to gain as much of that as you possibly can. Education, physical ability, competency, and power. And you will be able to yourself affect change in ways that you will have dominion over your own local areas. Now, if many of us start doing it, that's a lot of guys dominating in their local areas coming together. That's the solution that I see, the nonviolent one, if you will. And with that, that's the end of the regular show. We're going to switch it over to members. We're going to be doing member call-ins. I'll turn it over to Josh if he has anything else he wants to say.
Yes, I'm very excited. I mean, this was a great show. I honestly, no glazing, I think this was probably our best show yet. Really enjoyed it. Ton of fun. A lot of great clips. A lot of good commentary. That's what you get. But now you're about to get what you pay for. If you're a member, join us on the member stream. Very excited. And I'm curious because with the NAV founders, the New American Vision Network, our audience is kind of split on Nick. We've got some Groypers and we've got some Nick haters. So I'm genuinely curious to hear from you guys about your takes on our takes here on the Groyper Report. So please become a member, join the conversation, and we'll catch you here in a second.
Yes. And as always, forgive me, Christ is king. Seek first the kingdom of God. Deport Kash Patel and Bam Pam Bondi and every other fat whale back to the kitchen from whence they came. And hopefully we'll get our country back. But we will switch it over to the outro. And stay tuned, members. After the outro, we'll be switching it back into the members only. And so we'll see you there.
Where do you stand politically? Give us your political ideology.
Okay, I can say anything I want.
Yeah, bro. Say yeah. Where? Yeah.
I don't know, the day-to-day stuff. I'm like, yeah, more bullshit. Another white girl got stabbed to death. Of course she did. What do you expect? For my politics, I just watch America First with Nick Fuentes.
Okay.
I consider myself a Groyper. Sometimes I just wait to hear Nick's take to make sure I have the right take before I make videos, So, yeah, I just go with what Nick says. I just defer all my political opinions to Nick Fuentes at this point. I'm America First. I wish that we had white Christian men running the country. It's unbelievable to me that we have a government that has a policy other than America First. How does that make any sense? We pay taxes, use our taxes to benefit the country that we live in.
So we should be back now.
All right.
And it should be members only. We'll find out, though, if that even worked. I think the transition was not the one that I just did, actually. I'm pulling it up on mine.
What do you mean?
Interesting. Okay, that's sick. Okay, it did switch over to members only.
Sweet. Let's go.
I think there was another button that was supposed to be there. It looked different on this one than I did with mine. But I'm going to go ahead and dump this into the chat, the join link.
Okay, perfect. I was going to ask how it worked, but that's what I figured.
It did work. Okay, they're in here now. Okay, so let me put this in here, guys. This is the invite link. We're only going to be doing one at a time. To start with, just because I don't want to hear all your guys yelling at once. And first person in, first person First person will pull up. But any other thoughts you got, Josh?
Yeah, great stream. Genuinely, I thought it was good. I kept muting myself because I've been coughing up a lung, and the whole stream I was doing good until the end. I forget to unmute myself.
Oh,
but
that makes more sense now. Okay.
Yeah. I like whenever we would go to a clip, I would chug water and I'd like cough my lungs up to get it all out of my system. So yeah, but genuinely great show. 2 great shows today. We had some bangers, man. It's the suit. It's the fucking suit.
I think, you're making me look bad. I was,
yeah, I thought about that. I thought about taking it off, but I love it, man. It makes me feel powerful.
Feel powerful. It's funny.
I feel the power of the fucking suit. Hayden got me into his like private Discord for free. He wanted me to do the whole undercover Groyper thing. And the guy, I forget his name, but he's like the guy who makes Nick Fuentes' suits. He was in there. And me and Zeb were talking. Yeah, and he was on the stream that Zeb did with Hayden. He was talking about how he'll make you a custom suit for like $500. And I was like, nigga.
$500? It's too much for me, dude.
Yeah. It's a lot, but for a custom tailored suit, he's the Movement's Hugo Boss, you know?
Movement's Hugo Boss. It's funny. I do need to fix the typo markets. I do. Trust me, I do. I think there was an issue on the transition, actually. Believe it or not, because I lost chat access. I still can see your guys' chats. I just don't have it in the place I need it to be. We will figure it out. I think when I read about it, I think I actually have to schedule the switch itself too. Meaning like I need to schedule the live stream, and then I think I'm supposed to also schedule like at 10, it switches over to members only. And I didn't do that. But when I've been going live, but maybe it's because I do mine without scheduling it. But when I've been going live, sometimes I have the option in the top right corner to switch to members only. So apologize, guys. Sorry, that's not what you might be wanting. But the link is there, and you can still join. I can still see all of your chats, just not on screen. It gave up.
Yeah, and this is not live stream. This is not something you can find unless you're not a member. So don't be afraid to, talk unoptically, and
right.
You can even put your face in there, but you don't have to.
We have this from Jackson says messages that appear are from people who purchased this content. 500 doesn't seem too bad. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'll go to Goodwill, build it for $30. I built my custom suit with $30. Yours looks fine.
I'll have to find the video. So you know that I used to be 400 pounds, but I've lost most of that weight. Still got more to lose. There's a video where I had to do something for school when I was in college, and I dressed up, and I had, because I was so big, I wore suspenders and like a black suit and everything. And my buddy, he was like joking with me, and he got a milkshake from Cookout, and he threw it on my car as I was driving by, and I just watched it, so I was pissed. And the video is so funny because like I'm like fuming mad, but I'm like a giant fat guy in suspenders and a suit, and I look like a mob boss. And I was like, get in the fucking car. We're going to clean my car. You know,
yeah.
I got to find that video. That'd be fun. That's members only content though.
Yeah. Members only. Yeah. I see what Zeb put in here too. Since they put the whole stream on the people after publish, I'm not sure. I'll look at that after. Well, regardless, if that's the way it is and I messed up, then everybody gets a free members only segment to start with. I'll switch it back to public if that doesn't work right.
And you can edit this part out.
Oh, that's true.
So
too.
if you're, you
cut it off.
Call in, you pussies.
Yeah, no, everybody's afraid of us now. I guess maybe the most contentious thing I think was continually pushed, and I think there's the same people pushing it. is the whole 1776 thing. The whole idea of this, right? This excessive, I wouldn't even say excessive. The idea though, that we're going to just like all of a sudden walk into revolution is, again, I cannot
It's
articulate to people like how nonsensical that is, how incoherent that is. And it's not to say like we need the majority of people to do it. It's to say like when you have no plan, everything is already leveraged against you. You don't have any judges in your favor. You are going to make it immediately the easiest thing ever for JD Vance to disavow, because they're going to disavow any amount of violence. You have nobody in your corner. And all it really does at the end of the day is make us look worse and puts us in a harder position. It makes it easier for Kash Patel to sign the NVE, document into it. A nihilistic, violent extremist, Groypers. It'll be the first subline, Groypers. That's what we don't need. We don't need that. And the other thing too is like, when you think about like the current situation, I mean, what's the problem? The problem is like, we have all these things that we could do. They're just not being done. So it's not that like we need like this huge, insane overhaul. We just need people in the building who will do the things that we need them to do, which is enforce the laws already on the books. And so you have like this, you're so close to being able to enact it. It's just, it could literally be one election away from people actually being in a position to actually begin getting the ball rolling down the hill. That's why I'm so hard pressed. Just like, you can't just throw it all up and just say fuck it all and be black pilled and say, you know what, everything's all good, everyone's controlled. Okay, so what are you going to say about us when we hit 100K subs? Is John Ward controlled because he has 177,000 subscribers? Is this all a grift no matter what? I mean, it's incoherent, dude. It just, to me, it's aggravating at best.
Dude, yeah. And to the point about like the revolution, Nick says as much. He goes, what do you think the Jews are more concerned about? You showing up to the Capitol building with guns and an armed militia, or you infiltrating the levers of power?
Right.
Well, it's clearly the latter, because that's what they're fighting against. That's what they're warning people about. That's what they're actively gatekeeping and bragging about gatekeeping it.
Well, think about right now, the Israel lobby. So think about the fact that like what they've been doing, the genocide they've been committing, it's been very public and overt, and the whole world is still kind of like no one's really done anything to intervene. So you have this situation where they are already able to, with mass amounts of hasbara and propaganda, they're able to change the narrative, right? That's what they did early on with they went from territory to terrorism. They changed the whole narrative about what was going on there. And I've said this before, you're going to have moments where if you see like some young guy just starts popping off, they're going to make it look like you are an insane batshit person. They're going to make it look like, in the same way, even if you do get to that state, right? We're going to be throwing sticks and stones at like these drones flying overhead, and they're going to be like, the footage the rest of the world sees is like, wow, look at these American terrorists. It's American terrorists that won't just stop fighting because they believe in Christianity. It's like they'll be able to paint you in the same way. And that's part of like what they already have pat down is the narrative. They own the narrative. They basically dominate it. And so you have to be on 1,000 P's and Q's to be able to avoid walking into a trap like that. Let me get a couple of these chats in here though, because they're over on this screen. Zeb says that day one members will have a new emblem in 10 days. Laura 3 says, I suppose we'll see, as I'm listening while helping watch my nephew. Good stuff. I'll try to curse less. I apologize. Jackson says, I want to call in, but it's 3:15 a.m. here, and the missus is asleep next to me. I get that, man. Zeb says, I wouldn't argue 1776. No one understands the tool that is violence. And what I think I would agree with you, and I would agree you on both ends, both on the pro and on the anti end of that. I think people just don't understand what they're talking about, largely when they're talking about collectivizing and revolution. And you keep in mind with the fact of like, again, if we all understand the Second Amendment will not protect you, no judge will protect you, no senator will protect you, no representative will protect you. The moment that you cross that line, you can never come back. And so if you end up crossing that line and you turn around and none of your boys cross with you, see ya. It's just the way it is, man. It's like, that's what I mean by being like pragmatic. And I think there's no real sustenance we're going to gain by halfway talking around it all the time because you know what that conversation brings about. You're going to get people coming after you. The FBI is going to put me I'm probably already on the Palantir kill list. They're going to get me by name. They're going to start doing, and they'll do what they do to every other people, right? They're going to start targeting your wife. They're going to start targeting your mother. They're going to start targeting your children. They might turn your children against you. It might not even be a physical assassination. It might be a character assassination of you. They'll find ways to embed things, make lies about you. That's why I would do everything to avoid violence as much as we possibly can. But I talked a lot. You, Josh. You speak now.
No, yeah, I think. Hold on, let me mute myself. No, I think the violence thing. It will only be a viable option when things get way worse. And I'm not an accelerationist, and I think that people are so dismissive of Nick's strategy, but at the same time, nothing like that has been tried in recent history. Why not give it a shot? You know what I mean? If it delays the inevitable, then okay. If it accelerates the inevitable, I mean, why not give it a shot? You know, and that's the thing is it's like Leather Apron Club made a great video about this where he was like, if you do not live in a swing state, your vote does not matter. It does not matter. Yeah. And this is why, like on the show I work for, they gave me crap. They're like, so have you voted yet? I'm like, no, I'm not voting. I'm like, well, why not? And I'm like, I'm in South Carolina. It's a solid red state. There's no point. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not registered yet. I'm not going to go get registered so I can then go vote. It won't matter. And even then, I wasn't even that was me just not even talking about how I don't think Trump is our guy. The visceral reaction these people have to you're forsaking your civic duty. Fuck you, dude. Your civic duty is I'm going to watch TV for 4 years and then I'm going to vote for whoever's in front of me. And this is something I got on the audience of the radio show I worked for before, is it's like they're talking about how I have been vocally criticizing Trump. And they go, you don't understand, Josh. Trump is so much better than what we've had over the last several decades. And I was like, you know what? I agree. His rhetoric is 10 times better than Romney and McCain and Bush and whatever. But you know what? I guarantee when they were the candidate, you were just as sure about your convictions and voting for them.
Right.
You need permission to think certain ways about things. You weren't asking for a wall before Trump because Romney wasn't, because McCain wasn't.
They brought it to
Trump
you.
gave you permission to believe the things that you believe.
Yeah.
I'm not like that. You're not like that.
Right. Dude, you're absolutely spot on. And that's how a lot of, and that's just the nature of it too. And and maybe I do a worse job by trying to constantly not be rude. And I feel like it maybe puts me in a poor spot. Maybe I just should be. Like, take, for example, what I talk about too is like we even had before we went live today, and maybe they're even still here. Maybe they're a member. I don't know. Before we even went live, while it's sitting in the waiting screen, while me and Josh are in the green room, somebody chats, somebody comments, if you guys only talk about Candace, but you don't say anything about DPUSA, I'm unsubscribing. I saw chats earlier through here. I can't do this. I'm out. The fuck? Are we fucking women now? Are we serious? Like, the point to come to this is not so you sit here and go, yes, I can't wait to agree with literally every word that comes out of Atlas's mouth. What? And that's the thing, is we don't have to agree with each other like all the way. Like, there's going to be things I might like a different Pokemon than you. It's going to be okay. But this whole idea that like you immediately throw your hands up in the air and you can't even, like, first of all, if you're like even beginning to throw the phrase around of like, oh, you can't even, that's a woman thing. Let women have it. You need to be able to can even. And that's some of the stuff I'm talking about. It's not just in our chat. You see it everywhere. You see it in the way that people even replies, right? Between like Captive Dreamer, Jack Posobiec, John. It's in the ecosystem now. And we need to get away from it. There's a very effeminate kind of way that we engage online. And maybe it is part of the keyboard stuff. But it's got to stop, dude. To me, I find it very egregious and overtly effeminate. And I think it leads us into people being in like bitchy scenarios with each other. And it's like, we don't need to be there. We're men. Just talk about it. Be honest.
Yeah, and to me, it's like they're like, oh, you're gonna bash Candace, but not TPUSA. We've been bashing TPUSA for years.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like
I'm defending TPUSA.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, it's like, it's not that the two of us, Nick has like 10 years worth of content to go back on. You and I, excuse me, you and I less so. But it's like, do we have to handhold everyone through this? Like, just because we're bashing Candace does not mean we endorse TPUSA. This is
it's the shackled thinking. It's the dichotomy.
Yeah.
Everything's a dichotomy. No nuance, no gray, no nothing. Now some things are black and white, but you're spot on, dude. It's like Stalin was a great history. Stalin was a great leader in history. Whoa, dude, he wants to kill everybody. He's a communist, dude. God, but how do we get there though? And part of it is just kind of the general like denigration of like the Department of Education and such. I want to read your chats though, especially because they're not showing up in front of me. Let me catch up to one that I left off on. So this is from, where's it at? Let me go up here. Where are we at, dude? Speaking of popping off, apparently someone shot at Tim Pool's house last night. Mark Murder says we're scared of being doxxed and exposed as the imperfect humans we are, so just don't even try. This is the thing, dude. We got to get away from the anonymous thing too. Like you have to, with your balls attached to you, you must be able to say something with your first and last name attached to it. You have to, if you can't take that risk, leave 1776 at the door.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good.
I love the founders. Okay. What's John Hancock known for? He put his fucking name on the Declaration of Independence as big as he could.
Yeah.
So that the king could read it because he had poor eyesight. But me, Timu Groyper online or Timu 1776, I'm making change because I know things. I'm saying I'm typing the words that everyone needs to hear with my like 4,000 subscriber or 4,000 follower Twitter account.
What I would add though is they did use publish under code names until it was time. Until the party was on, right? Or what was it? Publius?
Right.
There's a couple other ones too that they use, but Publius is like the most wide known one. There's a lot of these chats here, Josh. I'm going to try to rip through them here. Since you can't see them either, I don't think. Jackson says, here they are putting noticers in jail for Twitter posts. Jackson, you have to be in Europe, brother. I'm assuming so.
If it's 3 a.m.
Yeah. You don't have to dox yourself. I just now made that connection. I didn't realize. Lord of the Rings says, the Constitution is just a piece of paper, and you only have rights so long as you can protect and enforce them. Correct. And the moment you lose vigilance, the moment those rights are gone. It's like a percentage, right? It's like it's at 100%. It's at 99 now. 98 now. It's like that's how quickly they will erode, because that's how much people want to consume power for themselves. And obviously corruption too. The government uses violence. Is that all of it? Yeah, Lord of the Rings says the state is a multinational corporation with a monopoly on the use of force. Correct. Marcus Moto says there are no countries anymore, only corporations. Smelly Balls says 5 illegals cancel out my vote in California. No point. Lord of the Rings says, and the purpose of a corporation or a system is what it effectively does. Lord of the Rings says Pokemon is gay anyway. Digimon is way better.
I'm a Skylanders guy myself.
You're Skylanders. I guess you are a bit younger, aren't you? That's funny. Is that the one where you put them on the little hexagon or whatever?
Yeah, my I remember my brother had that for Christmas, and it's like a video game or something.
Yeah, I would see it all the time at Walmart. They would always have like the setup, like out front that you could play with. I remember that. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Appalachian Goy says, I had to leave the chat because of that shit, honestly. I would imagine many others did the same too. And it was curious. We kind of have a strong split there. We have a lot of people who are like very anti-Nick. They want me to say like, let's go get them all. Let's go round them up. They want me to, We want us to be Paul Revere. We're going to lead the charge. They're going to actually, they're going to use my head as the ram to get into DC, apparently. And yeah. And then we have people who are proposing rainbow flags for all the people who are in chat. So it's clear there's an obvious split, you know, and like, that's it, dude. I swore fealty. I hereby have announced my loyalty to Nicholas J. Fuentes. Like, I've always been that, dog.
RDK.
Yeah, what is it?
RDK.
RKD for
RKD, yeah.
RKD, yeah, right. Oh, we got somebody in here. We do.
RDK.
Okay, I apologize. I must have missed you. They've been here for like 20 seconds. Let me put you up here, man. Okay, let me copy the link here. Let me go to the right camera. And let's try her out. Might have to recenter you though once it gets you in here. Okay, we got you in here.
Oh,
let me recenter you a little bit.
What's up?
We can see better. Okay, that's perfect. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Yeah,
I hear you. Great.
Yep, we hear you.
Kind of got a double feedback. Should I shut something out?
So say that again.
I'm having a hard time hearing you. There's like an echo.
Let me look at his audio settings real quick.
My screen was so blurry for a minute. I thought he was Esperon.
Oh, I think. Do you have? I wonder if the YouTube video might be refeeding into here. Actually, can you hear me fine though?
Ooh.
Okay, I can hear you fine. Is it Josh that you can't hear him?
Say something.
Well, it's like it just.
Oh, it's better now.
It just keeps going back and forth like a double feedback.
Interesting.
He's getting feedback.
I'm not sure what that would be. Let me try. I'll turn on all echo cancellation on everybody. Is that any better?
Hello?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. All right, brother. Who are you?
Yeah. What I was gonna say is like, you know, I appreciate your accelerationism. You know, it's like, but man, I've lived under Gavin Newsom for fucking 8 years now, and there's just no way I would vote for that fucking guy.
I get that. Especially if you have personal prejudice against him. I obviously accelerationist in the sense that I don't support anything that Gavin Newsom does. But I just run my head continually into the fact that there's clearly not, even with everything going on, despite news story after news story after news story, it's not enough. Like it's still somehow that's still not enough for people to be active. And so I'm kind of defaulting to that.
Retarded. I mean, seriously, like I feel like people are just they don't get it. They don't see it, you know?
Right.
I'm scared the rest of the country's gonna, you know, get behind that guy. It's just he's fucking ruined this place, man. Like
I almost wonder, yes, he's the governor, and but like how much of it is really him? You know what I mean?
Right.
Not that therefore he'd be the president and then he'd be based. Like if that's the whole point, is he would be a bad president. That's why Atlas is kind of like somewhat accelerationist, you know what I mean? Or he's better than JD Vance, who's going to give us like technocratic hell, Peter Thiel faggot world.
Every time,
but it's like
JD Vance, I always think of that picture of him during the when they won, and he was in there dancing with all them fucking Jews in there. You know, it was like
yeah. That was it the RNC? What was that?
Yeah, it was the RNC. It was but it was like the Jewish RNC. It was like a totally different fucking venue. Yeah,
it was one that was like with Shabbos Kessenbaum. He was like helping coordinate stuff over there. I remember that, man. It was crazy because they're all wearing their hats and their stuff. Well, the thing is I still think JD Vance is the front runner regardless of all the parties. And this is something that I thought about even a hot minute ago, which was the Trump administration, the way it has built itself, has opened a lane for JD Vance to when it comes, it's closer to 2028, he goes, and this is what Trump did wrong. And he can step in and he can step over the corpse of Trump by using that as leverage to be like, here's what I would do different. You know, I was in there trying to tell Trump to do that, but he wouldn't listen to me. Like things like that that's opened up an avenue for him.
Kind of like what Kamala should have said on The View.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Right. And I guess I do think as well too, one thing that's not even brought up a lot as well, but plays into the accelerationism is the fact that like there's all of these echo chambers and algorithms. And I brought this up on Offensively Accurate, but I was covering just a little bit because I wanted to go back a couple weeks to cover, or just a week to cover a bit of the Moderna clinical trials that had the child death that was omitted. And next thing you know, I refreshed my homepage on X and it was vaccine. I had to scroll forever to just find any post that wasn't about a vaccine. And so there's an element that people are kind of sheltered. They only will see information if they go out and seek it, or it gets so big they can't avoid it. And I think that's partly to blame for why people are so content with Trump, is because what you had said, they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, no, I love my wife to death, but she's like the ideal normie, right? She's in her bubble. She doesn't give a fuck. She asks me, "Who are we voting for?" It's like,
right.
Thank you. I mean, she's like, basically, I'm giving you an extra vote. So,
yeah.
Hey, you actually that sounds better than everything else. Like, I think like your wife should be a normie. I think that's ideal. And normie in the sense of it's like, okay, honey, what am I thinking today? So, power to you, man. You're a lucky man.
Right. And I'm glad
I hate bitches with opinions, man. Shit.
Well, and part of it too that I would add in there as well is like, as part of the issue too is when you look at it, like is a place where a lot of people reach, especially whites, where they reach a point where they get enough money and they go deuces and they disappear and they end up like in South Florida. And so that is a real thing, which is we do have like these concentrated areas where people basically abandoned. And retreatism is a huge thing, right? You look at just the general nature of like the church. Most people will tell you if you don't like your church, leave. But what has that done? It's basically left the West Coast keeps coming closer to the East. It's all progressive. It's all liberalism. And that was partly my big issue with libertarianism in general, which was a lot of guys adopted that. They put their Gadsden flag on the back of their truck. They put the Gadsden flag in their yard and they went inside, turned on the TV, watched NFL, and then closed their eyes. Like, that's not how it works. You have to pay attention. You have to be vigilant. People want what we have.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that like I get pissed off about our side is I'm a huge fan of Anthony Cumia. I love Anthony Cumia. I love Gavin McInnes, but they're retarded in the sense that like when Zoran Mamdani got elected, they're like, you know what? This is probably for the best because he's going to fuck everything up so bad that people are going to see how bad it is. And it's like, no, he's going to fuck everything up. And then it's fucked up because Lori Lightfoot fucked up Chicago. And what was the black people's conclusion? Oh, I'm going to vote for someone more radical than her because she wasn't radical enough. And now you've got Brandon Johnson, who's even a bigger fucking idiot. And that's how they think. You can't think like that. You can't think, okay, when things get bad enough, the nons are gonna wake up and see the light. They will. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, you can't. You can't depend on people naturally waking up. I mean, I've been fucking posting memes and shit since I think about 2004, 2005. I've been that's how long I've been awake, like it's just I'm 45 now, so maybe I'm a fucking old timer to you guys, but
I'm getting there, man. I turned 30 in like 2 weeks.
Eat spicy goodness like a boss.
Congratulations.
I didn't think it was a good thing. Well, I guess if I could ask you, Christian, what's your biggest beef with the show? What's me and Josh's worst take?
Your worst take?
Yeah.
Fuck, guys, I haven't found one yet, except for the accelerationism. I mean, about the voting for Gavin Newsom. When I heard that shit, that's why I'm here. I'm like, no, please.
I feel.
I'd rather vote for a woman president than Gavin Newsom. I'm not shitting you one bit.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know. Yeah, I
don't
couldn't
know.
go there. Well,
I'd rather vote for Gavin Newsom than an Indian, like than Vivek
Oh, right.
Ramaswamy.
oh yeah, easily. And the thing is yeah, I'm more radical than where Nick is at on that. You're actually in agreement with Nick. Like Nick actually doesn't want to roll the dice on accelerationism. He would prefer to keep it in incrementalism, but on the margins and incremental to what we want, right? Not what like the establishment wants to push us to.
Right.
And I'm fully supportive of that. Like I will. Like if we have someone who's on the plate who I think would be incremental, I'd be for it. But if we're back to where we were at, right, with the last election, it's like for me, it's like I probably won't vote. I'm not going to actively vote for Governor Newsom, but I'm not going to be at the voting poll. I'm not even going to care at that point. I mean, to me, it's like let's just wait and see how badly the country will falter, and maybe we'll pick up pieces.
Yeah, no, you see, back when they started that the talking about making, like the Obamacare bullshit.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that I knew were like, fucking let them do it. It'll be so fucked up. We'll go back. And it's like, well, fuck, it's been 12 years, 15 years now. It's fucked. We can't fix it.
Yep.
It's fucking fucked. It's like,
Yep. And you have certain like economical problems that we don't like. There's just no solution for. Like the wage thing, for one, is like going to be a huge problem for the Republican Party because they have beaten it into the head of every person that minimum wage increases. It's like that's a communist thing, and it's like, well, the reality is you do need some level of control because wages have been stagnant since like I believe like the early '60s.
right.
And you have what Jimmy Dore brought up, right, which was like I think it was in the 1980s. For every dollar a CEO made, an employee would make 40. Now it's for every dollar an employee makes, the CEO made 342. And so the part of the problem is the fact that like there does need to be some way where it does remove the incentive away from the manufacturer, the employer. But the issue is like you're going to have no labor at all. And part of the reason we would be able to get them incentivized to do so is by outlawing any non-American labor. Force them to only be able to compete in the American market. Then when people are choosing like, yeah, because people are going to start choosing DoorDash over working for International Paper. If I can make $100 in 4 hours, I'll do that over working a 10-hour shift for $17 an hour. And so they're going to have to compete with that market. And if you're like Honda and you can't compete with Uber, like I'm sorry, you need to fix your profit model because you're the problem, not us.
No, yeah, it's just like when Obama did the when he gave Dodge and Chevy the bailouts.
Yep.
He should have let those motherfuckers fail.
Right.
I mean, it's if you can't survive in the market that is, it's your market. If you can't survive there, fucking bye.
Right. And what do we get from it anyways? We still are outsourcing the majority of manufacturing, right? Part of it was to help keep a lot of it inside, right? It was, I think it was specifically like Chrysler, Ford, and there's a big third one.
Think Ford,
and GMC
Ford
too.
Yeah, Chevy, GMC is the same.
Yep.
Fucking Dodge, Chevy, and I believe it was like a couple of the green companies that he was investing in.
Right. And
Literally,
we still,
dude. And then they get in and it's like, oh, they get the subsidy, they get bailed out. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Oh, now we can hire Indians.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's get rid of all these white folks that want retirement and fucking good wages.
Yeah. And where are we? Well, who did that help? Here we are with an even worse situation, even worse economy. We don't make anything in this nation. And it's just, it's brutal. And that's part of it too. Like I was started a while ago, but I need to get back to it. Building your manual out of like things that people should know that like isn't taught by like the DOE. And so things like that would be like, obviously tax is a very easy one, like home ec stuff, but things in there that's like venture capital, right? The makeup of American economy, things that like would be very crucial to know, especially when you see your president come on air and he's like, we need to do this for the American economy. A lot of people don't even know what that's affecting. What sectors is that? How big of an American, chunk of the pie is that? They have no idea. And there probably are elements like that need to be taught.
Yeah, no. When I was in high school, they had home ec. I mean, when I graduated, I could balance a fucking checkbook. I could operate a budget. You know,
Right.
fill out a fucking resume. I mean, they taught all that shit. They don't do that anymore. My daughter, she graduated. Well, I have 5 children. My oldest daughter graduated in 2003. So
Okay. Well, congratulations on the kids too.
yeah, thank you. It's fucking rough. That's one of the reasons why I'm totally against Gavin Newsom being a president. Fuck that guy. But when she graduated, nothing. She can't fucking balance a checkbook. She can't fucking fill out a resume. There's no fucking nothing.
Yep.
It's like, what the fuck happened? You know?
Well, it was crazy because for me, all of those things were actually leaving. So I graduated in 2014. And so I had home ec my sophomore year and they were all gone by junior year. And so our FFA program, knowing that all those things were leaving, they became a bigger program because they basically just took all of the curriculums from everything that got chopped, added it to FFA, and then the chapter became huge. I mean, number one in the nation from a small, tiny school in Ohio. But it was because they basically were like, we'll just do all those things. These kids need to still learn this, but if the school's not going to do it, we'll do it. And they got a bunch of like awards and stuff for it. But it just, the general degradation of America can't be understated. We're all feeling it, you know?
Oh, it's fucking watered down fucking bullshit.
Right. And we do appreciate you coming on, man. I don't know if anybody else can end up calling in. But we appreciate you very much, man. We're probably planning on doing this probably every single week stream. We'll open it up for like 30, 45 minutes to have some call-ins, bring it in.
I dig the Groyper report. You guys are fucking awesome.
Thank you. We appreciate
Let's
it.
go, dude.
I kind of fucking knew a little bit about Nick Fuentes, you know, just from seeing him in the news cycles and shit, but I never really listened to him, you know, until now. I'm like, holy shit, that fucker actually does say some good shit. So
right.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's part of the trap, man. They poison the well to such an insane degree that you don't even think twice about not listening to him. You go, oh, Tim said it, Charlie said it, that guy said it. I won't even bother.
I fucking hate Tim Pool. His voice is, it's like, bored.
Yeah,
me.
I feel it, man. Especially as somebody who used to watch him like every single day. The disappointment is immeasurable. But I'll turn over to Joshua before we go ahead and sign off.
All of you.
Right.
Man, we appreciate you calling in. I mean,
hell yeah.
I'm excited that we're getting some community engagement. I mean, just hearing y'all, like you said, you're from California. You know, the fact that like it's nice to know that you know, like there's other people out there that get it. You know, like when I met Zeb, through him I met Atlas, and now through the Groyper Report I'm meeting you, and it's just if anything, it's nice to know the show provides an outlet for people, you know.
It's been an honor speaking to you fuckers. So
yeah, of course. Anytime, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate you being a member.
Thank you
as
for
well,
being
too.
a member.
yeah, hell yeah, dude. Peace out.
Hey, sounds good. We will see you next week.
Hell yeah.
And I'll go ahead and close it out, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We appreciate it greatly. I do apologize that the member function wasn't good. That was on my end, so I apologize. I will get it fixed and clean up for next time. And maybe we'll get even more. Maybe we'll get even more up in arms. Maybe we'll attack the chatters even more. Maybe we'll start a war with our own chat, our own audience. Who knows? Maybe I will, at least. But I'll turn over to Josh to sign us off. Never mind, he's muted.
Damn it. I did it again. This has been the 7th edition of Groyper Report. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Christ is King. Deport Kash Patel and ban Pam Bondi from public life. Let's go.
Where do you stand politically? Give us your political ideology.
Okay, I can say anything I want.
Yeah, bro. Say yeah. Yeah.
Rumble. I don't know, the day-to-day stuff, I'm like, yeah, more bullshit. Another white girl got stabbed to death? Of course she did. What do you expect? For my politics, I just watch America First with Nick Fuentes.
Okay.
I consider myself a Groyper. Sometimes I just wait to hear Nick's take to make sure I have the right take before I make videos, you know? So, yeah, I just go with what Nick says. I just defer all my political opinions to Nick Fuentes at this point. I'm America first. I wish that we had white Christian men running the country. It's unbelievable to me that we have a government that has a policy other than America first. How does that make any sense? We pay taxes, like, use our taxes to benefit the country that we live in.